Watkins Glen International, where today race 22 of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series goes green in just a while. Things are a bit different here. Most of the 36 races in a season are held on oval tracks, but today it's a road course, adding right-hand turns and lots of shifting gears to the usual menu of going fast and turning left. Racing history, high speeds, and the pressure of a championship all come together here at a world-famous little village in upstate New York.
Here, roads wind through lush rolling hills to a quiet, serene town. Here lies Watkins Glen, a place where old traditions and new ways find harmony. As the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series roars into town, they take to a course that wreaks havoc and where competition gets spun out. The road course ringers will make their final appearance this season and will face off with NASCAR's road warriors. Keeping tires on the track never looks so tough. This is NASCAR. This is Watkins Glen.
T-minus 10, 9, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ignition.
ESPN welcomes you to NASCAR Countdown. Today, the rolling hills and roads thunder with the sound of race cars as 43 drivers look to add their name to the long list of winners at historic Watkins Glen. At an oval track, people tailgate in the parking lot, then take their seat in the stands. At a road course, they tailgate the whole weekend and then watch the race right from where they are. For the drivers, some things remain the same here. The pre-race briefing 2 hours before race time. Kevin Harvick walking into the drivers' meeting a little while ago, one of those bubble drivers in the race to the chase. Casey Kane, another, looking to protect his position in the points today. Kyle Busch leads the points, and he'll start on the pole because qualifying was rained out on Friday. They'll all be chasing two of the road course kings, Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart, two of the favorites always here at Watkins Glen. The one major story today could be the weather. It's rained on and off all week. There's a 50% chance of showers or thunderstorms today, giving the crew chiefs just one more thing to think about as the race unfolds. As you see on the radar, we are dry for now. I want to show you the kind of excitement we're hoping to see in today's race by looking back at yesterday's NASCAR Nationwide Series race here. Wild pit strategies being played. Marcos Ambrose in the 59 here makes his final pit stop at lap 50 of 82. The fuel would be important into the final laps. 3 laps after that, the top 2 drivers in the championship tangle. Carl Edwards gets into Clint Boyer. They both spin down in turn 1. They both would continue. Then Kyle Busch in the black car tries to get the lead from Jeff Burton. They tangle. They both spin. They both continue. 6 laps later, Burton catches back up to Busch, and here comes the payback. Excuse me, I'm coming through. Burton nudges Kyle out of the way and goes by. Then the fuel tanks begin to run dry. Ambrose passing Jimmy Johnson in the 48 as his car sputters to a stop. Then Ambrose passes Jeff Burton when the 29 car runs out of gas. Ambrose has enough fuel and makes it to the finish, setting off a wild celebration as he gets his first Nationwide Series victory, capping a wild day of racing. Now Ambrose has one of the fastest cars in today's field, but he starts last. We hear from him with Shannon Spake.
Well, Alan, Marcos Ambrose always has a smile on his face, a little bit larger of a smile this morning. However, you said the recipe to today's race, to doing well in today's race, is to forget about yesterday, focus on today. How difficult is it going to be for you not to think about that win, though? Well,
I had a really good night last night. I was pretty tired and just exhausted by the whole experience of Victory Lane. But today it's a fresh day, starting off the back. Little Debbie are on board. We've got a new Miles to Smiles campaign that we're really excited about, and just really want to focus on just being solid all day. We're going to have to alternate our strategy a little bit compared to the front runners, try and get some track position. Really mindful of those top 12 in the chase. Make sure I don't get in, ruin their day and their chance of racing for the chase. And also too, the top 35 owner points. There are guys there that are racing tooth and nail as well. So I want to be mindful and respectful for guys out there. At the same time, I have to be very patient, patiently aggressive, I guess. We want to put ourselves in position there towards the end of the race, and we've just got to make sure we keep all the fenders and everything on the car.
What is your biggest concern about starting 43rd today?
Really just the fenders. I mean, it's really easy to get into somebody, and you've got to have a good car at the end of the race. You've got to have the brakes. You've got to look after the brakes all day, the gearbox, and you've got to make sure the fenders are all on. so you got that good front downforce. So really it's just staying out of trouble for the first 2/3 of the race. Hopefully we'll do some alternating strategies to try and get track positions towards the end. And yesterday the race went our way, and hopefully today the racing gods will be on our side too.
Well, if it does go his way and he wins today, he will be only the second driver to win his first nationwide race and cup race in the same weekend. The last driver, Carl Edwards, in 2005. Alan?
Shannon, thank you. And our ESPN pit studio, towering over the pit lane, right in front of the brand new media center here at Watkins Glen, one of the best seats in the house. We welcome you inside to join us. Alan Bestwick with two-time Watkins Glen winner Rusty Wallace and one of the co-owners of Marcos Ambrose's winning car from yesterday's race, Brad Doherty. It's been a good weekend so far. Rusty, great memories here, 1987, 1989. Reflect back on those two victories.
Oh, yeah, I tell you, that first victory was unbelievable. I remember I had a big lead, like a 15-second lead, and ran out of gas in a white flag lap, made a pit stop, put gas in the car, and still won the thing on the last. I mean, you don't see stuff like that anymore. I doubt if that's going to happen today.
No, it didn't happen yesterday, and they had a little struggle to get that fuel in the race car, too. Then a couple years later, you did it again.
Oh, yeah, it was just another good run out of the team. The car handled great all day long. Just a lot of fun this place is. I love it.
We are expecting a great race here today. Why?
Oh, man. First of all is this car, the new race car that we have. It's a heavy race car, high center of gravity. These guys are slinging this car back and forth through the turns. It's going to be exciting just to watch these guys to figure out strategies that will get them up towards the front all day long. It's just going to be nip and tuck all day long.
And as far as these cars and this course, they just seem to be a good match. We just think that the Cup races here at Watkins Glen over the years have just been fun to watch.
Oh, they've been fun to watch, but I'll tell you what, they get off course a lot too. There's a lot of crashing and banging and spinning. Look at all this stuff right now.
Yeah.
Guys are hitting the brakes wrong, they're missing gears, they're crashing, and you see this all day long right here at Watkins Glen. This place is all about excitement. Oh, look at that one, Brad. I mean,
Absolutely.
That was a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. As Max Pappas told me, he says, you're on the edge going through all these corners because this is such a fast road course. So you tend to get into trouble a lot. You overdrive the race car. You get into people sometimes. To advance your position is very difficult. It's just exciting all day long.
And Brad, the drivers tell me, and Alan, that these cars don't handle as good as the older cars, so they're slipping and sliding a lot.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we're excited about this race is because some really good road racers are way back in the field. We heard from Marcos Ambrose a minute ago. Let's hear from another one now with Mike Massaro.
And of course, Alan, you're talking about Robbie Gordon. He'll start 31st today. How do you plan to make up all that track position? Pit strategy or just pure aggression?
Well, I think it's going to be important to be aggressive, but also make sure we don't damage our race car. Unfortunately, we didn't get the opportunity to qualify. I think my team put a big effort into qualifying. I think we had a shot at the pole if we would have got the opportunity to do that. As far as strategy, we're just going to have to play the game. I mean, we got the weather game to play, we got fuel mileage to play, and we got starting 31st. So we're going to have to mix it up a little bit.
And you talk about that fuel mileage game in Sonoma. Fuel was certainly an issue for you guys. What have you done to address that situation coming into this race?
Well, unfortunately we're not able to do much of it because we do get our engines from Gillette Leverham, and they kind of set the fuel mileage for us. It's one of the things about when you don't build your own engines, but they do build good engines, and they're pretty reliable, but we struggle on fuel mileage. We went for a little bit of a horsepower car here, banking on weather, banking on having to pass people. If we would have been able to qualify and start up front, our strategy would have been different, our fuel mileage would have been different. But when you get the luck of starting 31st because of that's where you're at in points, you got to do a different strategy than everybody else. So we mixed it up a bit.
Alan, certainly don't count Robbie Gordon out just because he starts 31st. After all, he does know how to win here. He has a victory back in 2003.
He's going to be fun to watch come toward the front today. Coming up on the Watkins Glen edition of NASCAR Countdown. Remember this from last year's race? The desire to win is still as strong from Juan Pablo Montoya and Kevin Harvick. We'll talk to both shortly. Casey Kane is one of NASCAR's most popular drivers. You'll hear from Casey what happened to turn his season from struggle to success. And with only 5 races left in the race to the chase, we'll check those very tight point standings and talk to the drivers hunting for those playoff spots. All coming up on NASCAR Countdown. NASCAR Countdown is brought to you by Radio Shack. Get the most from your electronics at Radio Shack, where you don't just buy stuff, you do stuff. And the U.S. Army. They're strong, then there's Army Strong. Find out more at GoArmy.com.
I love road courses. horse racing. I wish that we ran more events.
Road racing's fun. I like road racing. To me, it adds a new element to what we do each and every week.
Some guys love it, some guys hate it, some guys just tolerate it.
It's not that I love it, it's just I'm good at it, I guess. I like the Glen, but I hate the rest of it.
I enjoy it to a certain extent. I enjoy it as long as I'm running good.
Not a huge road race fan because I haven't done a lot of it. I mean, it's definitely a challenge.
The driver can make up for what his car doesn't have more so on a road course than it is at any other racetrack we go to. The road races have been pretty good to us, and I wish there was more.
The long history of racing in Watkins Glen began way back in 1948 on the streets and roads of the nearby village. This track opened in 1956, first NASCAR race, 1957. The great Buck Baker won it. Track known around the world for the Formula One United States Grand Prix races held here starting in 1961. The track went bankrupt and closed in 81, reopened in 84. First NASCAR race of the modern era, 1986. Tim Richmond won it. August 10th, by the way. Other milestones here, Jeff Gordon set the record for most road course NASCAR wins with his 7th, 2001. In last year's race, Tony Stewart capping his run of dominance here by outrunning Jeff Gordon in what was a very titanic struggle. Let's get you a look at this Watkins Glen layout.
All right, let's take a lap around this racetrack. We'll start off at the start-finish line here at Watkins Glen. All right, coming down the front straightaway, really pretty fast corner right here. Hard brake down into second gear off of that corner. And if you do it wrong...
Yeah, you see Jeff Gordon get in, gets a little wheel hop, locks up the rear end. Tony Stewart sneaks by and he checks out.
Okay, they're going to exit turn 2 right now. Head into the S's. Right at the bottom of the hill, a lot of elevation changes right here. Going through the S's, getting to the top of the hill, and this is the key corner right here, the S's are.
You see the guys coming back up the hill here. They're almost getting 3 wide. It narrows up. You check out, you come to the top of the hill. It usually gets straightened back out before you get to the straightaway.
Now, a lot of speed right here, pulling in high gear, going down to back straightaway, down to third gear, down to second gear, hard on the brakes, into the inner loop, and this is a really tight corner. Things get really busy down here in this particular area.
Really getting woed up, and you see the guys here, they can't quite get around the corner, so they straighten it out. Denny Hamlin goes straight through the grass. Guys are trying to get to that next straight coming up. Rusty trying to set their cars up.
Right now they're exiting turn 9, coming down a short back straightaway. This is another great place for passing. Enter in turn 10, but boy, I tell you what, it gets tight if you do it wrong.
It gets tight, and if you miss it, you're off to the gravel trap. Carl Edwards does a great job of keeping the car moving, keeping the throttle going, gets it over to the grass, makes it back to the racetrack. That rarely happens.
And boy, that's textbook the way you do it right there, baby. That looks good right there, the way he just did that one. All right, down the short straightaway, going into turn 11 right now. This is a last right-hander till you get to the start-finish line. And you're going to see a lot of passing right there. Probably will today. And folks, that's a lap around Watkins Glen International Speedway.
Now, besides the right-hand turns being different than the normal oval track race, when we come to a road course, we also see some different faces in the field. One of them joins us in our ESPN pit studio now. Two-time Le Mans winner Ron Fellows, who's got 3 nationwide wins, 2 Craftsman Truck Series wins here at Watkins Glen. The one trophy he'd like more than any other is out there today.
Yes, the Sprint Cup. Yes, the Eros Cup win. And it's cool. I'm with DEI, and some of the best opportunities I've had have been with DEI. We finished second here a couple times. I had a couple of really good runs at Infineon, and it's just very cool. It's a great opportunity, and we would appreciate Bass Pro Shops and Redhead Apparel coming on to help us out this weekend.
While we look at some of your past wins in the Nationwide Series here, what's the difficulty of coming in here, Ron, and trying to race with these guys just a couple times a year?
Yeah, it's not getting enough time to spend with the COT, particularly if you come and you're struggling just a little bit. Last year with the Hall of Fame, we had a good car right off the trailer. Yesterday we were good in a couple of places, and then had a bit of a geometry problem. But the guys are very confident. We've got a real good car, and unfortunately, if you're with that shortened practice yesterday,
yeah.
If you're feeling like, God, it's a little more track time, and everybody's in the same boat, but that's you really want to get a good race. This is my Daytona 500. So
now everybody knows you know how to win on a road course. There's just no doubt about that. You're one of the best in the country. We think road racing, man, I think of Ron Fellows. It's just the way I think about it. But you mentioned the car a little bit. I read a little bit of uncertainty in your voice there. Maybe you're not real comfortable with this car. Is this car good enough to win today?
Oh yeah, it's good enough to win. We, the good news is Dan and I talked early this morning. Dan Stillman, my crew chief, and he feels real comfortable. He found a problem, and I think this is sort of the Days of Thunder thing. Flatten forward or match set. Here we go. So, I'm confident that we struggled to get the car to turn, and he says, "I'm telling you, this is it." And Okay, good.
You believe
Ready to go.
You believe him? Okay.
I have to. No, I know.
Right.
He explained how, what the issues were, and it makes total sense. And I'm a happy guy now.
Last week, you got to run on the rain tires. Tell us about that experience and your thoughts about last week at Montreal.
Ooh, it was wet. One of the, talking to some of the NASCAR officials, one of the difficulties on the Circuit de Villeneuve was it's a very flat track, and it's more like a temporary road course. It doesn't drain very well, so any kind of rain, you got heavy standing water, which makes it really treacherous. And it was obviously very cool to get a win.
Pretty fired up there,
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, like when the NASCAR people talked about, hey, we may have a race in Canada, and this is where we might go, and I'm thinking, I hope I get a ride. And to get a win is very special. Gilles was one of my heroes, and just very cool.
Absolutely.
Ryan, you start 32nd today. We hope to have some fun watching you come to the front. We appreciate you taking the time to visit with us, and good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Good
Thanks
luck
for having us on.
Great job, buddy.
Absolutely.
Congratulations for last week. That's just fantastic.
Congratulations.
very much.
Awesome.
Ron Fellows will drive that car from 32nd starting spot today. Let's hear from one of the other road course specialists in today's field. There's people around here wearing wigs like him, Dave Burns.
And Alan, the only thing with more elevation changes than Rusty's track description have been the emotions of Boris said the last 2 years here. Again, just like last year, his own ride washed out on qualifying on Friday, and you had to go searching for a ride. And this time, I guess you got to be pretty happy you found the King, Richard Petty. You're driving for him today.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an honor driving for the King, but a lot of pressure. I mean, you want to do good for his sponsors, Marathon Oil with American Spirit Oil, and Wells Fargo Bank, which is the bank I bank at, and, of course, the Victory Junction gang. So, hopefully today I can get a good points day for him. I mean, we're trying to get him back in the top 35 in points. So, for me, if somehow I didn't practice that good yesterday, but we made some more changes to the car, and if I can get in the top 10, top 15, I think it'd be a pretty successful day.
We know one thing about Boris. He will hit his marks. He knows how to drive the road courses, and we'll keep our eye on him coming to the front, Alan.
All right, David, thank you. The transmissions in the cars, you're going to get quite a workout today. Taking care of the transmissions, going to get a lot of attention from the teams before the race. For more on that, let's go to our Chevy Cutaway car and bring in Tim Brewer. Tim?
Coming into Watkins, Glen, New York, I got about 3 or 4 different manufacturers I can select to use as far as the transmission here at Watkins Glen. But whatever I select, most important thing I can do is to cool the grease properly. We're going to run first gear, second gear, third gear most of the day, not just high gear, so we're going to generate a lot of heat in the transmission. So what we're going to do, we're going to put an internal pump in the transmission. What that's going to do is pump the grease over to the rear end cooler. And we've got a different cooler over here. We can actually pump off the rear end and cool it also. But significantly being here, if we don't cool this transmission throughout the day, we're not going to be around at the end of the race here in Watkins Glen.
All right, Tim, thanks. We are in the tiny village alongside the Finger Lakes of New York, known around the world for road racing. Watkins Glen, where the first post-World War II road race in America was held back in 1948. Once the checkers wave here in Watkins Glen, it's on to Michigan for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. There will be 4 races left in the race to the chase. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the June winner at the 2-mile track up in the Irish Hills. Next Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, our coverage on ESPN, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from Michigan. Time for some news and notes. Friday, NASCAR filed its response to the $225 million lawsuit brought by former official Mauricia Grant, alleging racial discrimination and sexual harassment. NASCAR said her dismissal was for legitimate reasons and not an act of discrimination or retaliation. Among NASCAR's allegations is that Grant referred to herself by many of the allegedly racially offensive names used by NASCAR officials. NASCAR also said Grant was reprimanded more than once for tardiness and after an altercation with a track security guard at Michigan. In racing news, Martin Truex Jr. has re-signed with Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, a 1-year extension that'll keep him in their #1 car for 2009. And a driver change this week at Hall of Fame Racing. J.J. Yaley released from that ride Brad Coleman, the young Nationwide Series driver who's been under a development contract with that team to get a number of races in the car for the balance of the season, starting at Michigan. Casey Kane is one of NASCAR's most popular drivers, his face everywhere in commercials. He's already a 2-time winner on the track this season. Those 2 wins are quite a turnaround from the struggles of the recent past that left Casey riding racing's emotional roller coaster. Here's Shannon Spake.
Casey Kane.
Big win and a happy Casey Kane celebrating.
Casey Kane bounced off the wall, turn 2.
Casey Kane, heavy contact with his Dodge in the wall.
When you're not racing really well, people wonder, what's his problem? Can he drive? You know, what's wrong with him?
The old car just snapped.
Pretty pathetic race car.
When you win in races and you're running up front, you feel invincible. And all of a sudden things happen and you're like, wow, what happened? And you get really knocked off the top rung of the ladder and you feel like you got to start over again. And you're like, wow. To be the leader of the whole company, to be the face of, you know, Gillette Evernham Motorsports, it seems like there's more eyes on you, there's more weight on you to perform.
Everybody deals with emotions differently. And this sport at times can be an emotional roller coaster. I don't think a lot of people are ready for that.
Kasey Kahne wins the Coke 600.
In 2006, in only his third full season, Kasey Kahne won 6 races and 6 poles. But the next year, his success would not last.
07, I couldn't go fast, and that was a difficult year because, you know, you feel like you have your breakthrough year. You feel like you have everything go the way that it should, and then you can't do anything right the following year. So, you know, that was the most confusing year I've had in racing yet.
We were changing people, we were growing at the same time. Nothing's been the same for us. Most great sports franchises go through ups and downs, and our team is still a relatively new team as NASCAR goes.
Confidence can get crushed in a hurry. I really think that, and I think it's true with everybody. And one win, one great race, you know, can change that around in a hurry too.
That change came in May at the All-Star race. Kahne failed to qualify, but was voted into the field by the fans.
You, the fans, have spoken.
He then drove his way from the last spot to victory lane.
Kasey Kahne, the fan favorite, wins the Sprint All-Star race.
I figured out when I won the All-Star race that I didn't have the confidence and I wasn't communicating the way that I needed to do it just because we weren't running as strong or we hadn't won a race in a while. That was the start to a couple wins that we've had so far this season.
If it hadn't have been for the fans this year voting us in that race, we might not have been able to pick up that momentum.
We realized, man, maybe all the things that I've signed in the past or the time that I've spent with fans, whatever it's been, to get voted in by the fans felt great.
Through the good times and the bad, he has always remained a fan favorite.
You see his name and stuff all over the place. It's just the screaming and the yelling. The girls and the women yell at him everywhere he goes. I mean, it's crazy. The question I get mostly is he single? Do you have his phone number? And can you give him a message for me?
No matter how you look at it, he's our star right now. He's our franchise player. He's the guy that wins races.
Kasey Kahne wins the Coke 600.
Kasey Kahne gets his second victory of the season.
I don't think that NASCAR has seen the best of Kasey Kahne yet. I think that that's still a little bit of ways, and when that comes, I believe he can be a multiple champion.
Look at this turnaround from 2007 to 2008 for Kasey Kahne. Top 10s now versus this time a year ago. Points now versus this time a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I talked to Ray Evernham specifically about the turnaround, he said it was with the race cars. Kasey Kahne lost a lot of confidence because they were struggling with the geometry of the front end of the race car. He's got his mojo back.
Kasey, one of those drivers on the bubble where the race to the chase is concerned. We'll keep an eye on him as he goes green today from 7th starting spot. There's Max Pappas, Mad Max, very accomplished road racer, starting 42nd today. We'll track his progress to the front as the race unfolds here in Watkins, Glen, New York. He's going to be saying, move over. Is that the line? Yeah.
Now he has won on the road course. Jeff Gordon wins at Sears Point.
And here comes Jeff Gordon to take the checkered flag. For the 5th consecutive time, Jeff Gordon wins on a road course. Jeff Gordon wins his 6th consecutive road course race.
He takes his 7th road course victory.
King of the road right there, boys.
9th road course win, extending the all-time record for Jeff Gordon.
And of course, it's been a while here that Jeff hasn't had a victory lane celebration at Watkins Glen. But when you come to a road course, Jeff, you still have that almost worked. You still have the confidence you've had for all those years when you did go to victory lane.
You know, I mean, there was a few years we just dominated. I mean, we'd show up, we'd be the fastest car in practice, fastest car on the track. You know, and I don't want to say those days were easy, but it's certainly more challenging now. The competition's, you know, incredible. And I feel confident. I mean, I love coming to the road courses. When I'm out there, you know, I feel good. But like we started yesterday's practice, and I was like, it feels pretty good. We're like 20th on the board, you know. So Obviously, things have changed. I think this team has provided us, a great opportunity here today. The DuPont Chevrolet was strong in second practice, and the fuel strategy is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. We learned a lot from watching the nationwide race yesterday, and we're just going to play it smart. The biggest thing, I want to be in position like I was last year and not make that same mistake. I'd love to have that same opportunity again this year and see if we can make the outcome a little different.
All right, lined up by point sale, and obviously Jeff will be starting near the front.
He will take the green flag from 6th position. No question, Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon have been the class of the field. When it comes to Sprint Cup Series road course racing, 15 wins between them, including 8 of the last 11 at Watkins Glen. While Gordon is the overall road king, the hot hand lately has belonged to Stewart. Tony Stewart is the winner. He's going to ride his way to a dominating win. He'll take his second Watkins Glen checkered flag.
Crossover move by Stewart. Here he goes for the lead at turn 11. 4th road course victory.
Tony Stewart goes back-to-back and wins at the Glen.
Tony Stewart, winner of the Nextel Cup at Watkins Glen.
And joining me now is Tony Stewart. How have you been able to be so dominant at this place?
I don't know. I mean, we've just been really lucky, I guess. I got a great crew with Greg Zippadelli and all the guys on the Home Depot team, and this is just a place we've always liked. I mean, we like both the road courses, and we've had a fair amount of success at both of them, but this place just seems to be pretty special to us. I mean, we've really had good runs here.
And Alan, you can certainly understand why he'd be confident here. 4 victories. No drivers ever had 5 here at the Glen. Tony's going for that this afternoon.
That 20 car will line up in 9th position today. Tony's not going to brag on himself, certainly, when you ask him that question, why has he been so good? But both Tony and Jeff Gordon, why have they been so good here?
Alan, they both have got really good teams, and if there's such a thing as patiently aggressive, that's what both of these drivers are. They know when to stand on it, know when not to get on it, and they know how to relate what's going on in the car to their team. They really get these cars handling good.
You know, the thing I see, I spoke to both of these guys last night, and you see it in their eyes. They're very confident when they go to the road courses, and they're both very confident here. As a matter of fact, Tony Stewart thinks he's got the car that can win this race, as well as Jeff. You see it in them. It's an innate ability to gain confidence and momentum and just go out, and they're great race car drivers as well.
You heard Jeff Gordon mention about last year, the mistake he had late in the race. We'll show you that in a minute. But when you've had a race that you've given away, does it play on you when you come back next time?
Oh, absolutely, Brian. It really does. It makes you sick feeling. I mean, you're like, I was so close, but yet so far away. I had that thing locked up, and Jeff Gordon, we're coming to it in a little bit here, but yeah, I slid off the course with 1 lap to go. I had to be sick about that. Many times, I remember going down to turn 10 here and getting stuck in a gravel trap. Going, I can't believe I did that. How did that happen? Stuff like that,
Yeah, the one that got away is the one that sticks with you the most. One of the more entertaining moments in last year's race here was a tangle between 2 competitors who have a heavy desire to win, and both ended up in a situation neither one of them wanted to be in.
Truex gave the 42 Montoya a shot.
Oh, he gets hit by Jeff Burton.
Stay in the car. Get going. What's the problem?
Let's see if they're going to fight. Harvick's really mad at Montoya right now.
Harvick is not a guy you want to mess with. Tempers flaring here on the restart, and 3 of the contenders are out of it.
Well, you can always count on Watkins Glen to be an exciting race for the fans, but from the driver's seat, Kevin, what is the most exciting part of racing here at road courses?
I think just all the different elements of just driving the car. You have to turn right, obviously. You have to downshift. You have to take care of your brakes and take care of everything else on your car. And the fuel mileage, there's just so much strategy that goes into play from all different aspects, from the crew to the driver, that it just makes it a lot of fun. So I've always enjoyed the road races, and looking forward to today with our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet.
All right, Kevin Harvick rolls off 11th.
Well, we're back at a road course, and of course that means all eyes on Juan Pablo Montoya. So Juan, with the way things have been running this year, do you feel like this is your best opportunity to get a victory this year?
I think it's one of few, actually. I think there's a lot of things that have changed in the team lately, and we're running a lot stronger. And I think it's a matter of time until things really get really good. I feel like the big red Dodge here, with the slim pack, it'd be pretty strong. We're 3rd fastest in the first practice. Second practice we tried something different, didn't work. But I think we know where we are and what we need to do.
All right. Well, you put on quite a show for the fans on and off the track. Watkins Glen, put this poster up all around. They're banking on round number 2. Alan?
What's that? Something the racetrack put up, Jamie? Way to go, Juan Pablo. Hey, Ryan Newman's a former winner here at Watkins Glen in the Nationwide Series. He'd like a Sprint Cup win today to go with it. He will start 16th on the grid. I mentioned that Jeff Gordon mistake from a year ago. It came about from something called wheel hop. What is it and why? We'll hear more about it today when NASCAR Countdown continues from Watkins Glen. Aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. You see the pit lane here at Watkins Glen, where so much that is so crucial to the outcome of today's race will happen. In the vein of things are different here that I was talking about earlier, take a look at the pit lanes of Watkins Glen in the bottom of the picture, and last week's track Pocono top of the frame. The crews approach the car from the opposite side. A normal oval track, they approach it from the driver's side. Here at Watkins Glen, they approach it from what would be the passenger's side of the car. And that's not the only backwards thing about today. Our crew chief has to think backwards about his strategy. Our champion crew chief, Andy Petrie, joins me from the broadcast booth now. Andy, can you help me sort this backwards thing out?
Well, Alan, what the deal is here, you're going to make 2 pit stops, and you want to make that last pit stop as soon as you can. You want to try to make that last segment as long as possible. You don't lose a lap here when you pit. If you're not too far behind the leaders, you don't take a chance on losing a lap. So what you want to do is you want to try to get that last pit stop out of the way, get back on the racetrack, and then try to do that right before the caution comes out. You can't predict that, so you try to get, you try to just get on pit road, or get on pit road, get off of pit road, and then if the caution comes out, you're safe. If you get caught on the racetrack and all the other guys have pitted, you're in trouble there. You'll lose a lot of spots.
So trying to pit before the caution comes out will put crew chiefs in a position to try and gamble a little bit, right?
That's the deal, Alan. They're going to gamble on having a certain amount of caution laps to extend that range. They're going to make that last pit stop before their numbers say they can actually make it to the end and gamble on getting enough caution flag laps to extend that. And that's just what makes these crew chiefs pull their hair out. I'm glad I'm up here calling the race today and not down there on the pit box.
So identify the fuel window, count backwards from there, see how much you want to gamble. Were you a big gambler?
Not probably as much as Brewer, but yeah, I did my fair share of gambling.
I don't think there were many as big a gambler as Brewer. All right, Andy, we'll talk to you in just a little bit.
Okay, Al.
So the backward strategy today, one element from the pit road side of things. From behind the wheel side of things, there's this little issue called wheel hop that we'll hear about a lot today. What is it and why does it happen?
What happens, Alan, if you get down in the corner real hard on the brakes and you go ahead and get ready to downshift that car, you don't rev the motor up enough to get that thing in gear, it'll cause the wheels to jump up and down like you see in Jeff Gordon's car right there. Also, if you have too much rear brake, it'll lock the rear wheels up and cause the same thing. A lot of these drivers are going to be going through this all day long.
Yeah, and what happens in the race car, you actually have a dial that you can turn, and that dial adds tension either to the front or rear brake. And what happens with these guys, some guys like more in the front because when you hit the brake, it plants the nose of the race car. Some guys want more in the back. It's like pulling the back of your coat. If you get too much in the back, though, it causes that thing to lock up sometimes going into the corner, and therefore you slide.
And Alan, one thing that really kills it too, late in the race, when the front brakes get really hot, it starts making the rear wheels lock up more, and that's when you see more wheel hopping late in the race when they get real hot and really wore out.
How easy is it for that to happen? That was Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon with less than 2 laps to go in last year's race while he was in position to win. So we'll keep an eye on who wheel hops today. Let's talk to a couple of more guys with good starting spots and good chances to win today. David, who do you have?
Well, this will be the second race that Jimmy Johnson is participating in this weekend here at Watkins Glen. And I know you learned how far a nationwide car can go on fuel yesterday and how far it can't. What was the benefit for you, though, running the race yesterday, Jimmy?
Just getting in the rhythm of things, racing against Marcus, Dario, Robbie Gordon, these guys that are really good at road course racing. That experience and putting myself in that intense environment and hard braking zones and competitively passing those guys like we did yesterday gives me a lot of confidence and also works on that skill set that's needed on these tracks. So I'm really excited. We've got a great Lowe's Impala today. Hopefully things work out for us, and hopefully we have enough gas to get to the end.
And if you're going to repeat again as champion, you have to run well everywhere. Jimmy getting lots of practice here.
Happy birthday, Pops.
By virtue of starting by points, Dale Earnhardt Jr. starts on the outside pole. The question is it you or is it Kyle Busch who leads the first lap?
Just have to see how it goes. We got a good car. I think we was really, really good. We was in the top 5 in practice, so we just try to take care of it all day and try not to ruin the race on the first lap. That's the most important thing.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. certainly a guy to watch out for. After all, he does have a victory here in the Nationwide Series back in 1999.
Coming up next, we talk with some of the other drivers near the top of the point standings and the top of the grid in today's field. Last week's Pocono winner, Carl Edwards, starts third. We'll talk to him. Jeff Burton had a chance to win yesterday until the fuel tank ran dry. He'll try again today. We'll talk with him and the championship leader, Kyle Busch, today's pole position driver. We will hear from Kyle when NASCAR Countdown continues from Watkins, Glen.
Moving on up, baby. Moving on up.
Last Sunday's Pocono race did nothing to ease the pressure of drivers trying to make the chase for the Sprint Cup. Casey Kane in 7th place, just 91 points from 13th, which is out of the championship fight. Denny Hamlin stumbled a bit at Pocono last week, finished 23rd, dropped 2 spots to 10th place. Then there's Kevin Harvick, who had troubles at Indy, got spun out on lap 1 at Pocono, and came all the way back for a top 5 finish. Kevin's 11th in the standings, but only 19 points to the good starting the day. Let's hear from the bubble drivers in the chase, starting with Jamie Little.
Well, with just 5 races remaining, Clint Bowyer sits on the bubble in 12th position. So, Clint, with this race, a road course, how can that affect your points today?
Oh, it can in a major way. You know, one way or another, we got to get every point we can possible. I'm not the best here, you know. I'm gonna admit that, but. The DirecTV Chevrolet's good. Gil and all the guys have worked hard. You know, once we get going, I always race well here, but I just never can run a fast lap by myself. So looking forward to getting out there, getting comfortable, getting in my element, and let them wizards do their work and then fuel mileage like they always do. But you can't rely on that. You know, anything can happen in these races. We got to race hard. We got to be, you know, got to be headed to the front the whole race long and try to get, you know, a top 10. If we can get a top 10 here, that'd be like a win for me.
Well, the good news is Clint Bowyer rolls off 12th, his best start here at the Glen.
Well, down here with Matt Kenseth, he was just talking to his teammates about the Nationwide race last night. You finished 3rd. You said that that was your best race on a road course. How is that finish going to help you here today?
Well, unfortunately, it probably won't help us much. The cars are a lot different. You know, the Nationwide Series cars got a lot less horsepower, and they're a little bit lighter, and they handle better. So you're breaking, you know, points and zones and all that stuff are way different. The style and the way you got to drive the cars is different. So it was nice to get racing. I had a lot of fun, and, you know, it's nice to get some extra laps around the track, but I don't think it's going to be a huge help for today.
All right, Matt, and we brought you something, because if you remember last year here at Watkins Glen, we had a fan who asked you for an autograph, so we figured we'd help you out and just give you a Sharpie to keep in your car.
I appreciate that, and, you know, I felt bad. I got a lot of ribbon for not signing stuff, so everybody knows we sent him a whole bunch of stuff. I sent him a whole bunch of autograph stuff, and felt bad about all the trouble he got in. And it was cool that if he was going to do that, he picked our car. That was pretty neat.
All right, well, Matt Kenseth rolls out 13th with his Sharpie in the car.
All right, Shannon. Remember, when the chase field is set, drivers will be seated and receive bonus points based on how many wins they have. Well, Kyle Busch has 7 wins so far this year, but with his Pocono victory, Carl Edwards now has 4. He and all the other top drivers want to close that gap on Kyle by getting more wins in these next 5 weeks. One of the drivers looking for a win today is Jeff Burton with Mike Massaro now.
And Jeff Burton has certainly been through this race to the chase before. What are these last 5 regular season races like as you prepare for the chase and still trying to protect your position inside the top 12?
It's stressful. It's you know, this is when all the reality of what you've been doing comes into play. You know, everybody thinks the last 5 races, the last 6 races are the most important. It's really not. They pay the same amount of points of what's going on before, but the reality of what's going on happens now. So it's hard to put it off and just say, oh, we'll get them next week, because there's not a whole lot of next weeks left. So, you know, it's important to stay focused and you know, make a game plan and stick to the game plan. That's what it's all about, is just do what you do best. Don't try to become something you're not. And if you do that, good things tend to happen.
And Jeff Burton rolls off 5th today, Dave.
With Carl Edwards now coming up through the S's. Man, I can see why this is such a tough part of the track to get right every time at full speed. With his weather predictor standing by, just like last week, our winner comes into Watkins Glen with a chance to gain 10 more bonus points, Carl. Can you do it here today?
I hope so. I mean, our car is awesome. You know, it was great in practice, and I learned a few things yesterday through trial and error, and I think it should be a really good race. I don't think it's going to rain either. That's my prediction.
All right, so there you go. He's a good weather predictor, and you know, he called the race once at Montreal, so I guess we can trust all of Carl's predictions.
There you go. That's a great ride around the racetrack for all these fans here at Watkins Glen, too. Had a chance to do that myself several times over the years. Now, one thing that could really cost all these guys involved in this championship chase fight today
is
gravel
if they
traps.
If they get off a turn 10 and get stuck in that gravel trap or the inner loop, I mean, that gravel trap, folks, will flat lock you up in there. And if you get stuck in that stuff, you're there for a long time.
Obviously, it's like nothing we experienced running on the ovals. You get into this stuff, your car can still be perfectly sound, but you're just not going anywhere, and you eat up those valuable seconds on this racetrack.
Last year, 33 cars finished on the lead lap. At the end of the day here, you get stuck in that, and it takes them a lap to pull you out. You're not going to be one of those top 33 this time around. Guys with the cars near the top of the standings, like Carl Edwards, just talking to a minute ago, do you think we'll see their crew chiefs, with fuel strategy being such a critical thing today, being more willing to gamble for those bonus points and a possible win?
I don't think so. I mean, a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I think they got to be a little conservative. We saw yesterday in the nationwide race, guys gambling. They didn't get any caution flags. They ran green flag forever, and it bit them. That same thing could happen here today. Although almost every single year you gamble, you're going to get 4 or 5 caution laps, and you're going to get a little better gas mileage than the rest of them, and you might get a victory out of it. But the guys in the top 12, I just don't think they can do that, guys. Not at this track.
I disagree. I think the guys, particularly in the top half, can go for it, because I still think at the end of the day, you put all your hard work and sweat and effort into getting that trophy. And I think these guys are going to go for it all and try to win that trophy if you're in the top 5. That's my opinion.
Okay, top 5.
Yeah, top 5.
Okay, you're talking top 5. I agree with you in a top 5. Yeah. From there on down, ooh, I'm a little nervous. I don't know.
There you go. Well, no driver has won more in the Sprint Cup Series this year, and no driver has won more on road courses in NASCAR this year than the championship leader, Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch, what a talent this kid is. And the kid from Las Vegas, Nevada will become the 4th different winner for NASCAR's Nationwide Series in Mexico.
Go Kyle Busch to Mexico City, boys. That's what I'm talking about.
Checkered flag in the air for Kyle Busch. He wins at Sonoma.
You boys are awesome. Thank you, thank you. You guys are so awesome. Woo! Yeah!
Well, at this point in the season, with 5 races remaining, a lot of guys in the top 5, 6 are in experimental mode, Kyle, and that means risking or giving up perhaps a win. Where are you guys at this point?
Well, I mean, we're out there to race as hard as we can every practice, qualifying, and race time. You know, we just try to work as hard as we can to make our car the best we can, and whatever it comes down to in the race. If we've got a chance to go for a win, we're going to take it, but 2nd through 43rd just doesn't matter.
How about yesterday? You had a missed shift. You guys were a little concerned, but you had a chance to get on the track. How are you feeling about it? Is everything okay?
Yeah, I missed a shift early in the first session there, just you know, being so out of the racetrack, and the car wasn't very good, so I was going up through the S's and just not comfortable at all, trying to grab 4th, and went back to 2nd. So mistake on my part, first time in a long time, but guys checked everything over, everything looked fine, it sounded fine, it ran fine the rest of the day, so hopefully we'll be okay today.
Kyle Busch on the pole for the 5th time this season.
And again, started there because he is the championship leader, and qualifying was rained out on Friday. Field lined up according to points. He has been the man in all forms of NASCAR racing so far this year, he being Kyle.
And all types of tracks also, Alan. I mean, this guy has won on the road course out in California when they didn't think he had a chance. He's won on the short tracks. He's won on the big tracks. He's just won everywhere, and he's got so much confidence. It's just incredible how much confidence he has also.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a drought going, though, and I think it's very important between now and the beginning of the chase over these next few races that Kyle Busch gets back into victory lane. I think it will help him because this is such a momentum sport. He needs that momentum to carry on in to the chase, particularly with people like Jimmy Johnson and Carl Edwards chasing him, and Jeff Gordon there as well. Championship contenders.
You know, one thing I did like about what he did yesterday, though, Alan, he did run that Nationwide Series race, got a lot of rhythm, got a good understanding of the racetrack, the tire, the way it feels. And our road course is not like an oval track. You've got to kind of get your momentum built up. You got to kind of get in the saddle, so to speak. You heard Clint Boyer a little while ago say, you know what, I really don't run good, but once I get going, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
That's what running that race yesterday did for a lot of these guys.
You know, I talking about Kyle Busch and thinking about what you mentioned there a second ago, Brad, about a little bit of a mini slump and momentum. You hear all these stories since this chase format came to be about guys when they're in a fairly comfortable spot point-wise and going to make the chase, they know for sure, about all this experimenting going on and so on. How much experimenting do you really think these teams are doing Or has that become kind of the nice phrase to throw out there when things aren't going that well?
I think it's what they throw out there. I don't think with this new car or the present car we have right now, there's a whole lot of experimenting you can do with this car. It's pretty much is what it is. I mean, there's a few things you can tweak the motor here and there, but when you start trying to manipulate the body on this race car, you just can't do it. It has to fit the egg crate, and if it doesn't, you're out of here. So I don't think there's a lot of experimenting going on.
No, I totally agree with you. I don't think there's experimenting going on either. I think they're trying as hard as they can to run as fast as they can every single week, and to say, you know what, I'm running great, I just won that race, we're going to have an experiment. I don't think that's going to happen, because that could blow an engine, cause you to lose a race, a lot of points.
I got some numbers for you. I don't know if you guys like numbers much, but some people do, so let me throw this at you. In Chicago a few races ago, Kyle Busch won, Jimmy Johnson finished second. The next race we went to was Indy. Jimmy Johnson won, and finishing second was Carl Edwards. The next race we went to, Carl Edwards won. Tony Stewart finished second. Might today be the day for Tony Stewart to break that 1 year long winless drought here at Watkins Glen.
Oh, I think so. I talked to Tony last night, and he is fired up. He's excited about this opportunity. He loves road racing, and he's pretty darn good at this place.
You said a key thing just there, opportunity. When a guy has won as many times on a road course as Tony Stewart's won, he comes to this racetrack thinking, I am the man. I am going to win this race. This is a track that I can get back on track. Much like every time when I used to go to Bristol and won those 9 races, when I got to those short tracks, I'm like, baby, I'm going to win this race.
Bring it on.
I expect to do it. Bring it on, man.
Yep, absolutely.
There you go. All right, well, we've talked about some of the favorites, Stewart, Gordon, so on. Kyle Busch starting up front, the close bubble picture in the chase, and the strategies that'll go into trying to win this race. We'll all find out as it unfolds at Watkins Glen over the next couple of hours. We heard from Clint Boyer a minute ago. Remember, he's 12th in the standings, only 11 points ahead of Matt Kenseth. Stay out of the gravel traps, Clint. There's Greg Biffle, 8th in points, starts 8th today, could have a good run. Denny Hamlin could help himself with a win today.
Nestled amid lush rolling hills and cascading falls lies a quiet place. Here roads wind through serene pastures to a small town. This is Watkins Glen. One weekend a year, this town awakens to welcome the roar of 43 brightly painted machines. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series tackles a course where competition can get spun out, and road rage takes on a whole new meaning. The road course ringers are looking to show their skill in their final appearance this season. Points leader Kyle Busch looks to make his mark by becoming the first driver to win on 3 road courses in the same year. He'll be tested by road warriors Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart. Each have 4 wins at this track, the most by any driver. Every turn counts as drivers struggle to keep their tires on track and tempers in check. This is NASCAR at the Glen.
The rolling hills of Watkins Glen, New York, about to echo with the thunder of NASCAR racing engines shortly as 43 drivers go 90 laps on the 11-turn Watkins Glen International Road Course. Just one to take home the trophy. Despite some rather dire forecasts by the weathermen this morning, it's turning into a rather beautiful day. We hope that it stays that way for these thousands of fans ready to see some NASCAR racing. Let's go trackside for the opening ceremony.
And now with today's invocation, here's President and Chaplain of Motor Racing Outreach, Billy Malden.
Gracious God, we pause to give you thanks for this day, for this opportunity to go racing, for the sponsors and for the track personnel that have worked hard to put this event on. We thank you. We ask you to bless them. We pray for these drivers and these teams, all these folks working down on pit road. Keep them safe. Let us all have a blessed day. May your peace and your presence be with us. In Christ's name, amen.
And now for our national anthem, once again, Emma Mae Jacob.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the
And the flyover, wrapping up the opening ceremony today here at Watkins Glen, much to the delight of these thousands of fans that have ringed this 11-turn road course to see the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series today. So who'll have the fastest car? Who'll have the right strategy? Will the rain hold off? We'll find out when the engines fire at Watkins Glen. The drivers strap in. We go racing in just a couple of minutes. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from Watkins Glen is brought to you by Allstate. Are you in good hands? And by Planters, instinctively good. The pit lane along Watkins Glen International, where the VIPs have been cleared away. The crews putting final touches to their cars, helping their driver buckle aboard. Moments from now, those cars will fire up and roll out onto this 11-turn course to go racing for 90 laps in search of a checkered flag. Let's head upstairs for the call of today's race and say hello to Dr. Jerry Punch. Hi, Doc.
Hi, Alan. Great job down there, guys. You know, folks, it may be hard to believe that some of NASCAR's biggest names haven't won a race in 2008. And this group right here is accounted for 16 combined road course wins. So could one of these drivers' winless streaks end today? We'll find out here very shortly. Hello, everyone. Along with Dale Jarrett, Andy Petrie, I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us. Folks, have you ever gone to a grocery store and come home and said, yeah, I forgot to get the milk or I forgot the eggs. I knew I should have made a list. Well, if you go down to the garage area and talk to the drivers and crew chiefs, they'll tell you when they come to Watkins Glen, they make a list of items that you must remember. Guys, what's on that list?
Well, in the driver's cockpit, the things that you have to remember are your braking points. Obviously, they're very important, not getting in these corners too hard and trying to overdrive this course. The other thing is your shifting points and not missing a gear. That can ruin your day in a hurry. Don't over rev the engine. The other thing is stay on the pavement. That's going to be extremely important. Sounds rather simple, but it's very difficult. And not only can you get caught off pavement and you get in the sand trap, but you might pick up debris and cut a tire. There's going to be a lot of cars that finish on the lead lap. You don't want to be behind those guys.
And for a crew chief and the crews, they want to. The thing that you have to remember is you have to have good brakes here. The brakes are a big deal at Watkins Glen, so you do everything you can to the brake system. The other thing is make sure you can get all the fuel out of that fuel tank and get the best fuel mileage you can. And from there, you got to have good strategy. So there's a lot on a crew chief, and it's a lot to make this thing work here at a road course.
You know, road racing can be fickle at best, and as we saw yesterday, it can lead to some surprises. How about some of the names that just might break through and get win number one here today?
Well, we got some guys starting in the back, these road course ringers, and the two that I think that are going to have a real good shot at this are starting dead last, back in the back, Max Pappas and Marcus Ambrose. I really believe that Marcus showed what he could do yesterday in that Nationwide Series race. He's going to have a shot to win this thing today.
Yeah, you're right, and those are great choices, but I'm going to go a little different direction. David Gilliland finished second back at Sonoma. I think he has a great opportunity here. And, you know, there's one other guy that's pretty good, won a couple of championships. Jimmy Johnson has never won on a road course. He might just change that today.
You're on a pretty thick limb there, picking the reigning series champion and maybe break through and get that win. Jimmy Johnson. It's hard to believe that Jimmy Johnson, some of those drivers have yet to win on a road course as successful as they've been on oval tracks. Jimmy Johnson, by the way, of course, running the NASCAR Nationwide race yesterday and came up about a half a gallon shy of winning that one. Drivers getting buckled up, setting for 90 laps here at historic Watkins Glen International as we are set to go trackside for the command.
And now, race fans, it's time for the most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome back your Grand Marshal, Les Clark.
On behalf of Centurion Boats, our dealers, and our employees, I want to say, gentlemen, start your engines!
Crank them up, gang. Crank them up. Crank it up when you're ready.
We'll be good and solid. Keep her on the track. 10-4, fast.
Have a good race. Have fun, Junior. 10-4, y'all too. Be safe, everybody.
Engines have fired and 43 of NASCAR's finalists are set to turn left and right here at Watkins Glen, second and final road course event of 2008. Our in-race reporter, Juan Pablo Montoya, has won twice in a NASCAR stock car on road courses in Mexico City and Infineon last year. What are his thoughts about what will happen today? We'll ask him when we come back.
Your life is
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series action set to get underway here in historic Watkins Glen International. And before the cars roll, let's go down and visit with our in-race reporter, Juan Pablo Montoya.
Juan Pablo, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Inside the count. Coming in, you're okay, and coming up, you can. There's no rule. You can just go out.
Juan, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Yes, sir. Pop it out of clear.
Hey, Juan, you're known for your aggressive restarts. Do you see those times today as great passing opportunities for you?
I really hope so. You know, the Big Red Dodge has been really good. We were really good yesterday in practice. So, you know, it's a long race, so we really got to look after the car. So, big thing is, you know, make the smart moves and see where we end up.
All right, our second question is from our ESPN mailbag, and Brian in Richmond, Virginia would like to know, what is the biggest challenge you faced this year with this car on the road course?
It's the same car as last year. The hard thing is a lot of people developed the car this year, so you know, people are more comfortable with the car, where I thought last year we had a bit of an edge and people were getting used to the car. So we'll see what happens. It should be interesting. You know, I felt we had a good car. You know, we tested about 2 weeks ago and we were good, so it should be pretty good.
All right, Juan, thanks for talking with us and have a great day.
Juan Pablo Montoya starts 25th today in that Big Red Dodge. He was third quickest in practice yesterday. Calling the shots for Juan will be crew chief Brian Patty. Let's visit with Brian.
Hey, Brian Patty, Andy Petrie, you have a copy?
Can you hold the truck?
They're talking over in the booth, Juan. I couldn't hear you. So just hold on a second.
Hey, Brian Patty, Andy Petrie in the booth. You got us?
Go ahead and take off, dude.
They are discussing among the spotters. There are several spotters here, and when the spotters are talking back and forth, Brian unable to hear us, we'll check in with him during the race today. Juan Pablo Montoya won at Infineon a year ago. Only his 17th career start. Didn't really get going last year. Had a little incident here in turn one. Little road racing rage. He and Kevin Harvick would like to be able to get this car up to the front and maybe pick off his first win in 2008 today. Yesterday, NASCAR Nationwide Series racing, and Australian driver Marcus Ambrose realized a dream by collecting his first ever NASCAR win. The big question is, can the Aussie pull off the doubleheader and get the sweep today? For more, let's check in down with Shannon Spake.
Yeah, Doc, there were 20 drivers in last night's nationwide race that are competing in today's race. But despite the all-star cast, as you just said, it was first-time winner and nationwide regular Marcos Ambrose who went to victory lane. Today, Marcos Ambrose's campaign to sweep the weekend will begin. But he certainly has his work cut out for him because he is starting 43rd. Now, I spoke with Ambrose this morning. He told me if I can be calm and I can be patient, I feel like we can have a strong day. Dave Burns?
Well, Shannon, Ron Fellows has already accomplished what Marcos Ambrose has here at Watkins Glen in the Nationwide Series and more. He's got 3 Nationwide Series victories to his credit, for which he's very happy with. But the big goal, a Cup Series win. We talked to him earlier here on Countdown. Here's the situation today. He drives a 0-1 car for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated instead of Regan Smith this weekend. But because he didn't get to qualify, he didn't get to show what he can do. Last year, he started 4th. Today, he will start 30th. He'll have to come from the back. He'll be a show, but he's got a long way to go to win here today. Mike?
Well, Dave, for Denny Hamlin, today's race could come down to a balance between temptation and discipline. By all accounts, he's got a very good race car. In fact, he told me this morning it's a top 5 car for sure. But at the same time, he told me because of where he stands in the points, he needs to be very careful. He sits 10th in the standings with only a 35-point cushion inside that ever so important top 12. He says no matter what he does, he needs to be smart and come away with a top 10 finish today. But with a car that good, you've got to believe he'll be tempted to improve upon his finish from 2007 when he finished 2nd here at the Glen. Jamie?
Well, Mike, there's an exceptional amount of added pressure on pit teams today. Why? Because it's the only day in the entire year these guys are forced to pit a car going the opposite direction. Because of that, if you saw last night's nationwide race, you saw a lot of mistakes on pit road. You saw guys tripping over each other, tripping over air hoses. Things are opposite to them. You saw loose wheels, and that, of course, you saw a lot of penalties from NASCAR put down. So we're going to be watching that today. And David Gilliland's team, you see him behind me, as well as a few others, have done some things to combat that. Their guys on the back, their tire carrier and changer, swap to the front and vice versa. And remember, for drivers, this is all new to them as well. So certainly an exciting place to watch. It was yesterday, Doc. We'll keep our eye on it.
Jamie, we'll be keeping our eye on a lot of different things today, including what happens over the wall. DJ Kopp, the rear tire changer for Boris Said, and the 45 car has a high-definition onboard camera and a microphone. We'll be watching what he does as they come down to pit the cars in the wrong direction. They're going to pit in a different direction here, going clockwise instead of counterclockwise. He's one of the best in the business. He'll take us up close and personal with the pit stops, and we'll also be inside the action with 8 different high-definition onboard cameras inside the cars. Roof cameras, bumper cams. We'll be watching the drivers as they turn left and right and shift gears on this 2.45-mile 11-turn road course. Our starting grid, well, for the 5th time in 2008, qualifying was rained out, so they have lined the cars up based on owners' points, which means that Kyle Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be on the front row. And while you watch to see where your favorite driver is starting, let's talk a little bit about the strategy today. A lot, I guess, as Jamie was talking about, a lot of pit strategy about when you stop and some of the things the drivers want to do to be able to get track position.
Well, it seems like every year these guys keep making that window bigger and bigger, and they sometimes catch us even off guard because they'll pit so soon. A lot of guys are going to push this thing. They're going to push it past their windows. They're going to push it 4 or 5 laps past and count on having some caution flags. Some can afford to gamble more than others. Kyle Busch could afford to any kind of gamble. Those guys on the cutoff point, though, they can't afford that.
I think it's just such an interesting race today because you have so many different scenarios. We talk about the road race specialists that are in here, but when I look at these guys up front, they're all good road racers. But then again, the top 5 guys in our points have never won a road course race. So that gives them that opportunity to change that. You have someone like Casey Kane who's fighting to stay in the top 12. He's never finished better than 14th here. So he has an agenda here today to try to make that happen. Clint Boyer, 14th and 16th. So these guys really have to be on their games, and a lot of things have to happen. It's going to be a lot of interesting strategies, as you say, but these guys are really going to have to work hard because when you look down this list of cars, there are a lot of good cars and drivers out there, and it can make for a really long day if you're not on top of your game.
And this first lap has taken out a lot of good cars before. These guys are going to have to really be careful getting down into turn 1 and not ruin their day right off the start. I mean, you can gain a lot of spots there, but you can sure give away a bunch.
This race is 90 laps long. It is 90 laps, 220.5 miles. There's the pit road speed, 35 miles per hour. The pace car will run 40. Pit window, well, that's 30 to 35 laps. We're going to see some very unusual strategies, and there are 11 turns here on this 2.45 mile course. DJ, the sun is shining here right now, but talking to you guys now, the forecast, I know when you come here, you always look at the forecast because weather can change very quickly at Watkins Glen. They're saying we could have rain showers mid to late day, which means lap 45, the halfway point. Do you consider what could happen as a driver in the car?
I think here you're thinking about going hard all the time because this is not a very long race. So you're just thinking about going hard right from the beginning. You know that more than likely you're only going to be on pit road twice. You need to make up as many spots as you possibly can, and that starts when this green flag drops.
That's these tire changers. They're just practicing their rhythm. They get in that, they have that thing on the side of their toolbox, and these tire changers just need to get in there and try to get this in their head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's another one warming up, stretching a little bit.
How difficult is it for these crews to have to go in the opposite direction around the car? You guys have tried a lot of different things over the years. Is there any secret to being able to get this done in a hurry?
Well, not everybody's going to do it the same way, but it does trip these guys up a little bit to go the opposite direction.
There was no qualifying here on Friday, no practice, no qualifying. They had a couple of sessions on Saturday, lined up by points. Kyle Busch trying to stop the slide. He's lost 86 points the last 2 races, finished 36th at Pocono. But Kyle Busch is unbeaten on road courses in 2008. He won in Mexico City in the NASCAR Nationwide car. He came from 30th starting spot to win at Infinity. He will lead him down to the green flag. Great crowd on hand. Kyle Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the green flag waves at Watkins Glen International. Here we go. Tony Stewart hugging the inside there. Already some contact in the pack.
We said you couldn't win this race down there on the first lap, but you could sure make it a long day for you. But everybody made it through. A lot happening there in a hurry, though. This is the fastest part of the track as they go up through the S's to the long back straightaway here. See, Kyle Busch has got out front. Dale Jr.'s got in a spot there into second place. Carl Edwards trying to hold off Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson not wasting any time getting a little race. He said he learned a lot as far as how he wanted to handle this racetrack by driving the Nationwide car yesterday.
Yesterday, he was able to get down in the corner a couple of car lengths farther and outbrake a lot of guys, and I see him doing that just a little bit up that backstretch. He was able to outbrake Carl Edwards.
Jeff Gordon also trying to make a move. He takes the position away from Carl Edwards. Tony Stewart going inside the 31 car.
Yeah, I talked to Tony last night. He said his race car is really good. He was going to be pretty aggressive today. I think he's wanting to make sure that this losing streak, if you call it that he's on, isn't going to go past today.
Biffle, top of your screen. He falls back in line behind Burton. That's Casey Kane behind him in the 9 car and the 29 of Kevin Harvick. The 11 car, by the way, behind that group. Denny Hamlin, very good in final practice yesterday.
A lot of guys in the garage area said this is one of the cars to beat. Denny Hamlin's a great road racer. You see how his car is picking up that inside wheel through the S's. Some of these guys have real soft rear springs. Here goes Junior on the inside of Kyle Busch.
Headed to the inner loop. He will make the pass if he can hang on. Whoa, Jimmy Johnson. He does give Kyle enough room and makes the pass.
Kyle didn't want to give up much there. Got in there a little bit hot. He knew that Junior was going to pass him, but he was trying not to give up that second spot to Jimmy Johnson, but had to go across the grass. And we see Jeff Gordon putting pressure on him now. Mike?
Well, DJ, something we need to pay attention to this afternoon when it comes to Kyle Busch is his motor. In practice yesterday, he missed a shift. He went from 3rd to 2nd. There was some concern. Steve Addington ran the motor through some tests. They were confident enough to not have to replace the motor, but they did replace the valve springs. Still, something we should keep an eye on this afternoon, Dave.
And Mike, Jeff Gordon getting around Kyle Busch now for that 3rd position. And DJ talked about another driver kind of getting off the losing streak here. Jeff Gordon wanting to do that as well, referred to his spin during our countdown interview as something he'd like to overcome as well. And they went and tested for this race at Road Atlanta. One of the teams that did that, one of many teams that did that, because the elevation changes there mimic what happens here at this road course. So they got some adjustments made because of that test. And Jeff even more confident here this weekend.
Exactly, Dave. And this is a road course where the drivers talk about, unlike a lot of road courses, here you got to have horsepower. And how about the horsepower in those top 3 cars?
All Hendrick power up front. 1, 2, 3. And they've all filed right by Kyle Busch. He's struggling just a little bit. I know he had a little engine problem yesterday. I'm not sure that that's causing any problem now. It looks like his car is just not handling right.
Yeah, we see a lot of racing going on through here into the inner loop. These guys are pretty much single file right here trying to get down to that. You pretty much have to be. But they've got a long way to go if they're going to try to get to the front. And you want to be patient. You know it's a 90-lap race, but then again, you know that you have to get every spot that you can right now.
These are great road racers back here. Patrick Carpentier. See 21 car Marcus Ambrose. Here comes Carpentier.
Max Pappas behind him in the 70 car. Had a good run yesterday. That's Travis Quapple that Carpentier is going by. The 84 car is there. A.J. Allmendinger. Great in the open wheel ranks on the road courses.
Really good passings on there. Coming off the last corner down to the front straightaway. If you can get that inside spot trying to get down to turn 1, then that's a great passing opportunity. We see A.J. Allmendinger here. David Rudiman getting his car a little sideways.
And Rudiman will loop it around, stop it on the asphalt, and try to get it refired and head back. Here's the good part about this road course. If you can get it refired, you will not lose a lap, and he does.
He'll get it going. He was trying to block that move.
Yeah, and he was trying to get in there. He saw the opening there that A.J. Allmendinger was kind of having for him, and he was just going to try to follow in there, and he got in there just a little bit over his head and got the rear tires to hopping and just turns around. Everybody's been in that spot as we've seen.
You talk about wheel hop here. Watch the rear wheels.
He could see the smoke coming off. He just gets in there a little bit hard. He's trying not to hit the 84, but he's trying to cover that spot and take advantage of the pass there and get by the 28 car. But he just got in there a little bit too hard, and you have to turn the wheel so much right there that it just gets to hopping.
Marcus Ambrose view of what happened to the 99.
Staying in front of us here. Just stay on the bottom there. All clear. All clear. No pressure back here. Whatever you need, bud.
What causes the wheel hop? Is it the braking, is it the gearing, or is it a combination?
Yeah, a combination really it can be. It can come from either one. You can just get on the brake simply too hard and have too much rear brake in it, or as you're getting down in there, you also have to downshift and you don't match up your RPMs with the rear wheels, and it's just too much speed there. So more than either case, it was carrying too much speed into that corner.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has never won a NASCAR Sprint Cup event on a road course. He won here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series back in 1999, but he is leading here in the early laps. Back in just a moment. Working lap number 7 at Watkins Glen, the Centurion boats at the Glen NASCAR Sprint Cup Series event. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is our leader. Jimmy Johnson in second spot. Jeff Gordon, 3 Hendrick cars, 1, 2, 3. Then the 18 car. Points leader Kyle Busch has gotten a little racier now. Got this car dialed in. There's Tony Stewart back in fourth spot. Carl Edwards and Jeff Burton in the top 5. There's the 18 car of Kyle Busch. Let's listen in.
Ask him. I thought that wasn't a place to pass. Seriously, Jeff, go ask him. 10-4.
I would assume that he's probably talking about maybe Jimmy Johnson in the inner loop whenever Kyle got off the track there a little bit. I would think, where we saw Gordon make the pass, I think that's a legitimate spot. So, without knowing exactly, but, early in the race, and looked like it put him in a little bit of a difficult spot, but I'm sure he'll forget that. And he has a fast race car. These guys got by him, and he got back a little bit. Now he's come back.
That's the thing I see right here is his car didn't take off good on new tires. But after they run a few laps, this 18 car is as good or better than any car I've seen on the racetrack. And I think that's one reason it's frustrating for him, because he had to give up those spots before his car actually came in.
I think we're getting ready to see where he thinks there's a passing spot here in just a second.
He's getting ready to make one right here on Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, he made some contact yesterday when he got a little frustrated. He and the third, he and Jeff Burton had a little bumper tag and fender pushing episode in the NASCAR Nationwide Series race.
He's got his hands full there because Jeff Gordon knows how to make his car go off of these corners. That's what makes him such a good road racer, I believe, is he doesn't give up anything in spots. And we see Kyle trying to outbrake him into turn 1. Thinks better of it now. But Jeff's going to give him the spot. Maybe no. Good racing there.
Yeah, this is great racing.
Both of those guys had to have a lot of trust in each other at that point in time.
They missed an opportunity to wreck there pretty easily. Now, Kyle Busch, we told you he's unbeaten on road courses in 2008. We asked him about how much he likes road racing.
Road racing's fun. I like road racing. It's kind of feels like you're going into an off weekend, being able to turn right, turn left, kind of mess around and do that stuff, but it still counts for points. You still got to make sure that you do everything right, stay on track, and try to win, but it's fun.
It is fun, and he is the points leader, although, he's being pretty aggressive. I guess he realizes the chase is coming up, and he's got the most bonus points of anybody, but he's not letting Jeff Gordon get more than about 3 feet in front of him.
I know track position is important, Dale, but how long? Here we go. I was going to say, how long are you going to let this guy chew on your rear bumper before you let him go?
Yeah, and that's just Gordon. It shows the experience and knowledge that he has, that there's no reason to press the issue now. Kyle Busch is wanting to go, and Jeff Gordon's going to let him do that. And Jeff might even find something here. Kyle's car obviously is faster, and he might see something that will help him later on.
Our friends high above at Goodyear giving us a nice aerial photo view of that pass. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. There is
Check out this line. Yep, he got down in there a little hard. You can see him smoke that left front tire as he got in that corner a little bit hard, but that didn't back him up any. He just stayed in the gas. See Tony Stewart catching Jeff Gordon there too. As these two cars, Kyle Busch and Jeff Gordon, were racing, it gave Tony a chance to get up there a little bit closer to them.
If you're asking about the progress of some of the ringers in the back of the pack road course drivers, how about Marcus Ambrose, who started 43rd in the 21 car? He is now 31st. He has gained 12 spots in 9 laps. Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, I spoke with Marcos Ambrose this morning. He said it was going to be calm and patient, and that's how he was going to make his way through the field. I also asked him about that win last night. He said, I went to bed. I might have had, one celebratory beer, but I went to bed, took it easy, was really focused on today. He did say, as Tony Stewart goes by Jeff Gordon on the track, guys, but Marcos Ambrose did say that he had to turn off his phone. It was a great night for that team.
Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon up there trying to get toward the front. Here's Marcus Ambrose, his 59th career start. in Nationwide Series, going to victory lane for the first time, making only his third ever start in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. And guys, in practice yesterday, he was the fastest car in the early practice, but he was only third quickest in happy hour.
Well, we heard him say early on that he had to be patiently aggressive in this race, and it looks like that's exactly what he's doing. He's making up spot, which is important in this first run, but he's not putting himself in a bad position either.
Our in-race reporter today is Juan Pablo Montoya. We told you he started back in 25th position, and from the discussions we had with him yesterday in our little pit studio, he didn't seem like he was going to be there very long, and he is marching his way toward the front of the 42 car of Juan Pablo Montoya, now being shown in 15th position.
Yeah, he's picked up 10 spots already, and we've only run 10 laps, so he's getting a car a lap. And yeah, things are going to get a little more difficult as he gets to this group, but he has caught these guys that started well ahead of him, and so it shows just how good a car he's got. He's been excited all weekend about the prospects of his chances of winning this race.
Our Wrangler telemetry, you watch the throttle and see how much Juan Pablo, if he gets on the brakes here, imagine he's going to pop them pretty hard here in turn one. Yeah.
Oh, he dives inside Casey Kane. Too hard. I thought that there's no way he's going to make that work.
Yeah, you can hear that car jumping up and down. The rear wheels is actually affecting the RPMs of that by that doing. Shannon?
Yeah, something else Juan Pablo Montoya said this week was the fact that the last 4 weeks have really been the best weeks of his career, according to Montoya. He said, you know, the finishes don't necessarily show it, but I feel that on paper we are more competitive than we've been. He said it's been a boost for this team.
I think Juan Pablo is tired of people asking him what's wrong with the Ganassi racing team, what's going on. He said, you know, we are getting better. Chip Ganassi's made some changes. We are better. We haven't been able to show it on the racetrack, but we hopefully can begin this weekend in earnest with our turnaround.
Watch this bold move right here. He does a good job of not spinning the car out. When that thing starts wheel hopping, you basically can't turn the steering wheel or it'll just swap ends on you.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is our leader. There is Jimmy Johnson, second. They have moved away from Kyle Busch in third and Tony Stewart in fourth. Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick really starting to get racy. His car getting better and better. And the 24 car, Dave, is struggling a little bit.
Yeah, Doc, not the time to be racing with that 24 car right now. Real loose was the report 3 laps ago from Jeff, and since then he's lost 3 positions.
Very uncharacteristic of Jeff Gordon to be this far off early in the race. He's probably one of the best road racers out here.
When you're loose, it just makes it difficult to race these guys. You know, you've got one coming after another on your bumper, and you're trying to get to the throttle, but it just makes it more difficult.
12 laps of 90 in the books. Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to get his first win ever in a Sprint Cup road race. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell at 8 Eastern features 2 teams battling in a tight National League Central race as Albert Pujols and the St. Louis Cardinals face Derek Lee and the Cubbies. Then Monday Night Baseball presented by Holiday Inn moves to ESPN2 as Ryan Howard leads the Phillies' powerful lineup when they take on Manny Ramirez and the Dodgers at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. 14 laps complete. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart, and Carl Edwards. 2 Chevys, 2 Toyotas, and a Ford in the top 5.
I think this is very impressive of Dale Jr. and his team to come out here. And I know we have a long way to go in this race, but to come out from the very beginning and lead this race and still turning the fastest laps out there, I think that's very impressive that they can that they're this well prepared on a road course.
Fastest car on the racetrack the last lap, guys, was Marcus Ambrose back in 28th spot. He's got a fast car. He showed it in practice, and he's using it, methodically moving up through here, but he's coming.
In the pre-race, Marcus told our pit reporters they're going to try some very bizarre pit strategy to get track position. What could he be thinking about doing here? Trouble. A couple of road race regulars, P.J. Jones in the 96 and Patrick Carpentier in the 10. And no caution, no full course caution.
There, stay high. Hard, go hard. You're clear right there. Clear right there.
That was down in turn 1, where a lot of things seem to happen here as guys are racing down in there trying to make a pass. We'll watch the replay here and see exactly what went on. Patrick Carpentier looked like was trying to get down in and make the pass. It looked like he was pretty much under control, but they got together, whoever's fault it was. It's hard to say right there. PJ looked like he'd got in there a little bit hot. No, Carpentier, yeah, that's his fault. He just got in there a little bit hot. Boris said we saw just sneak by those guys, so that was a pass. He was looking to have to pass 2 cars, and he did it in 1 corner.
Boris said driving the 45 for Petty Enterprises. Kyle Petty opted to get out and let Boris drive the car here, and we'll have Terry Labonte in that car next week. You heard earlier from Dave Burns that Jeff Gordon was really struggling. The car was loose in portions of the track, and he complained it's really tight over in the inner loop. And here are the cars that are moving in on Gordon. Jeff holding on to 8th position, but it's Jeff Burton, Martin Truex, and Ryan Newman moving in behind him, 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Okay, this is your first round of pit stops. This is a scheduled pit stop, believe it or not. And these guys feel like that they can make it now on 1 more stop. It's going to be tight for these guys, and they're counting on a lot of caution flags. But this is the first round of them right here.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. We're going to be saying this a lot as this starts to happen from this point forward now as to what different strategies people are going to be on. His only problem is he's getting ready to get lapped right here, and that could be a problem.
Yeah, that works if you can stay on the track without losing a lap, but if you've lost so much ground before you make that stop, you lose a lap, that can backfire right in your face.
Juan Pablo Montoya continuing his march in the 42 car. There comes the 11 car, and Montoya right behind the 12 car of Ryan Newman. That is Newman is 11th. They are 11th, 12th, and 13th.
These guys have been racing awfully hard. These cars are just so equal up through here, but you see in each one of them as they get to these braking points, they're going up through the S's right now. They get to the braking points, they're really trying to protect that position. We saw that's what the 11 car was doing down into turn 1. Be interesting to see if he does the same thing and trying to keep Juan Pablo behind him right here.
One of the drivers who's been struggling just a bit is the 07 of Clint Boyer. Dave?
He's lost 5 positions, Doc, and remember, entering today's race, he's only 11 points to the good as far as the race to the chase. So right now, Clint has to battle getting through this race, and that dreaded wheel hop you guys talked about, that doesn't help. Listen.
Anything I can do to help wheel hop? Just adjust your brake. Try to put some front brake in it. You can also brake longer before you gear down.
To learn more about what Clint may be going through and how he can solve it, let's go to the Chevy Cutaway car and Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Dave. Folks, from inside the car, the driver can actually turn this knob right here. And what he's going to do, he's going to change the mechanical ability out here on the master cylinders. What that does, you change the rate from over this front master cylinder to the rear. And that's how we actually change the brake bias on the car, is through this cable that's hooked to the dash, moving it from this point over to this. Andy?
Yeah, Tim, another thing about these wheel hop deal is it's just so hard to get. A lot of drivers don't have the right style of downshifting, and we can hear some of those guys trying to help Clint, but boy, his voice got up there pretty high. He was worried about that.
Was there a sense of urgency in Clint Boyer's voice? It's almost like someone jumped out of a plane. He's yelling, any idea how to get this parachute to open? How do you stop this wheel hop? Clint Boyer. The good news is, though, as Dave mentioned, he's trying to hang in the 12th in the points, but the guy he's battling for position is the 17 who's right behind him. Here's the 41 of Reed Sorensen.
Get going here, buddy.
That's the hot spot today, turn 1.
It's always been the spot that's been the one that you had to be careful of the most, but I believe with these new cars, it's even more critical. You know, that's the spot that we saw Jeff Gordon leading the race last year, spin out. It's just, you go downhill into that corner, and it just makes it even more difficult. You're loading the front end, you've got rear brake on your car to help other places, and so then it just makes it even more difficult. We'll see him come in. Yeah, he's lost it way back up there.
He lost it early.
Just carrying too much speed down in there. And you know, it's a great place if you can get through there to make up some time to carry speed in there, because you want to carry that off of that first corner, but it's a very treacherous place.
They make anti-locking brakes. Could they make anti-hopping brakes?
Actually, anti-lock brakes would help that. They're illegal in this series, but that would help that situation.
That hasn't stopped people before.
Dale Jr.'s not having any problems. He's still out front. Jimmy Johnson right behind him. We saw Kyle Busch up to third. He's actually gained on Jimmy Johnson for that third spot. So.
Yeah, these two guys have been running the 88 car down, Dale Earnhardt Jr. by a couple tenths a lap. they're starting to move back in on him. But Marcus Ambrose has still been one of the fastest cars. He's back in the packaways.
Carl Edwards, a 99 car. And he will be one of those that will pit early here on lap number 20, getting down to 35 miles an hour.
Well, he's in plenty good spot. He was far enough up front. He's not going to have to be worried about losing a lap or anything. But this is their strategy that they want to get in here right now. And it'll help them gauge their gas mileage here, Andy, to see exactly when they can come in for this next one. Shannon?
Yeah, Greg Biffle on pit road. They're going to go to work on that car. You know, I spoke with Greg Irwin. He said that this setup on this car is very similar to where they unloaded. They chased their tail for a while, but ended up going back to what they unloaded with 4 tires for Greg Biffle. Mike.
Carl Edwards complaining is very tight in the left-hand turns, and the car needs to roll better. They're going to make a 4-tire change, an air pressure adjustment, and take on a full load of Sunoco race fuel. Jamie?
Matt Kenseth on the outside looking in points. He says he has no rear grip. He said it's going to be a long day. They're going to make a lot of changes. Right rubber out of the left rear, wedge in the left rear as well. 4 tires of fuel. Matt Kenseth is down and away.
I think that was a corporate decision by Rouse to make a pit stop on that lap.
Pretty much looked like the Rouse guys were going to come in on lap 20.
There's 70 laps to go from there, so that means that they can at least go 35 laps in each segment. At least they think they can. They'll probably try to gamble with a little bit more laps on that final segment.
And if they can't, Jack Roush will be the first to know. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading here after 21 laps. Welcome back to the Centurion boats at the Glen NASCAR Sprint Cup Series event. The 18 car, Kyle Busch peeled off. There comes Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's the leader. Busch, who would let him down from the pole, as the points leader, coming down for his pit stop at 35 miles an hour. Kevin Harvick, by the way, pitted. So did Jeff Burton, Jimmy McMurray, Clint Boyer, and the 12 car of Ryan Newman a moment ago while we were away. Here comes Tony Stewart and Kyle Busch. Mike.
And Kyle Busch hits to his pit box. The team goes to work. They're looking for a 4-tire change there. Kyle saying the car a little bit tight in the left-hand turns. They're also going to put a round wedge in on the right rear side as they make the adjustments on the 18. Meanwhile, the 20 car just a couple pit stalls back. Tony Stewart very quiet on the radio. They've been looking for rear grip all weekend, though. That's what Zippy was trying to give him with a 4-tire change here. Let's go to Dave.
Denny Hamlin's on pit road. Mike, a 4-tire change. It was a little free off of the right-handers. That'll be a wedge adjustment in the rear of that race car. 4 tires on and completed. He is off pit road.
Denny Hamlin down. Leader continues to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. By the way, if you just joined our coverage, Kyle Busch led the first lap, and then Dale Earnhardt Jr. has led the 22 laps since then. Jimmy Johnson, though, moving in on Earnhardt. Neither one of these cars have been on pit road as of yet.
Andy, are these guys taking a real chance staying out there with all of these other cars getting on pit road? The caution comes out and they have to pit then. I mean, I guess they're just going to stick with their strategy, but they're staying out there a long time.
Though I guess the only reason they're staying out here is because they know they can't make it. Their fuel mileage may not be quite as good, but it is very risky to stay out here because if the caution comes out, they're going to be behind. Jamie?
Martin Truex Jr. said one thing on the radio this entire race: the car is good. He is pumped. He started 18th, went all the way up to 3rd. 4 tires, no changes for the 1. Shannon?
Well, your winner from last night, Marcos Ambrose, says he's lost forward bite. They're going to take 4 tires on that number 21 car as they go to work on the car for Marcos Ambrose. They're also going to get some Sunoco fuel. Marcos Ambrose is out and away.
That was the big question. Marcos Ambrose has a very good car, may have the best car here, but how would the pit crew respond? Would they be able to keep him in where he needs to be by getting on and off pit road?
Well, they lost some time on their pit stop. At least they did get in and off pit road now. They're in pretty good shape. Jamie?
And David Reagan in his backup car yesterday in practice had a little incident and crunched his primary. Was falling off at the start of the race, but it's coming to him, getting gripped just like everyone else. 4 tires for David Reagan as they jack up the right side. 2nd. And he stalls it on the exit, guys. He gets it refired. David Reagan down and away.
One thing that makes it hard for these guys to get off pit road is they actually use first gear on the racetrack, and they can gear it any way they want. And they gear them up pretty high, and that's why it chokes the engine down sometimes when these guys take off.
Here's our battle for the lead with Dale Jr. still leading. Jimmy Johnson has closed in some more on him.
They need to battle down the pit roads. What they need to do, they're going to be in trouble here.
Juan Pablo Montoya, by the way, is 3rd. About a half a straightaway behind these guys.
If the caution doesn't come out, it won't hurt them to run extra laps here.
There's Juan Pablo, started back in 25th. He has hustled his car into the top 5. I realize there have been some pit stops, so he is back in 3rd spot.
He's running very good lap times, though, in comparison to the guys up front. So he does have a really good car, which he, again, told us a number of times this weekend.
Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Montoya, then Casey Kane is 4th. Jeff Gordon in the 24 car, trying to hold off Kurt Busch. That's for 5th position.
There's Jimmy Johnson.
You mentioned he's never won on a road course, hoping to end that drought in road racing today. Mike.
And they learned a lot yesterday during the nationwide race. One thing in particular, fuel mileage. They learned it, unfortunately, the hard way. That may be why they're pitting a little bit late. Jimmy Johnson saying the car a little bit edgy with the back. He's looking for a little bit of help. They'll make an air pressure adjustment. Also a 4-tire change on the 48 cars. They now swing around to the right side, pitting a little bit differently than they do on an oval. Left side first, right side next. They're down off the Jackson away. Jamie.
And Kurt Busch, the 2 cars, started 19th, working his way up. He's a road course ringer to some people. He says his car is pretty good. Air pressure adjustment, wedge, 4 tires for Kurt Busch, who's trying to rebound after running out of fuel last week at Pocono. Guys.
Kurt had driven that car up into the top 5. Here is Eric Almirola driving the car. He shares with Mark Martin for DEI. Coming to you, Jamie.
Eric Almirola, glad to be back in the car. It's the first time since the announcement that he'll be full-time in this car next season. Crew goes around to the left side first and then around to the right. Eric making his first start here at the Glen, starting 15th, of course, because of owner points. Let's see if they can get it down in a way. 16.3, a little longer than normal, guys, and that seems to be the standard here today.
One reason these pit stops are not as quick as we normally see is because the guys are coming from the other side of the wall, and everything's backwards for these guys. Shannon?
Yeah, Juan Pablo Montoya says it's just a little bit loose getting into the corners. They're going to make some air pressure adjustments on those back tires. 4 tires and fuel for Juan Pablo Montoya. What a great day for this car so far. He's moved his way from the back to the front of the field. Juan Pablo Montoya very happy with the car, just a little bit loose.
15.7, pretty good pit stop there for the Ganassi Sabatas team. Here's Casey Kane in for his first stop of the day.
NASCAR is actually asking, the 24 team is asking NASCAR to post the 24 because they can't communicate with Jeff Gordon. They want to get him on pit road.
What they mean by posting is they put that up on the electronic signboard at the flag stand so that when Jeff comes by, he sees his number flashing, indicating they want him to come to pit road because they cannot hear the guys here in the pits.
They'll actually do that for you about one time a race. After that, they won't do it anymore for you, will they, Andy?
I've never had them do that for me ever. I guess they would, but I've never asked them to do it.
Gordon now will come out of turn 11, which is the right-hander, and head down. They should have his number on the flag stand there flashing as he comes by.
Need to get to the old chalkboard out.
Yeah, they actually black flagged him right there at the start-finish line, trying to get his attention to make sure that he looked up, because a lot of times you won't be looking for that if you don't think there's anything wrong. But they're trying to help them in this case to get Jeff to pit road. And I'm sure he's been wondering why they're not telling him. They've got all of the spotters around the track that he has trying to get the communication to him. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure he saw the black flag last time. He's probably wondering why that is, but he might not be aware that he doesn't have that communication.
He could have pulled his earplugs. There's where his earplugs go, the earphones have a plug on them, and he could have pulled them out where he doesn't hear them.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. on pit road for his first stop of the day as they are going to work lap 30, a third of the way home. Shannon.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr., your race leader, has led most of this race. The guys going to work on that number 88, and they say it's just a little bit tight for Dale Jr. They're going to take 4 tires and fuel. The plan was to have Dale Jr. stay out as long as he could. He said, keep me out here as long as you want, I'll stay. They come down. Good pit stop. Had a little problem getting that fired up, guys.
Jeff Gordon does indeed heed the black flag and will come down for 4 tires and a radio adjustment. They'll check that plug, as Andy mentioned there, the plug into the back of the helmet and where the radio hooks in. He's headed to you, Dave.
5 away, 3, 2, 4 tires, rubbers out.
A
Originally, this was going to be a stop to pull spring rubbers out of the rear springs and to make an air pressure adjustment because Jeff's car was so loose but tight in other places. Now let's see if they go into the cockpit. Not at all. They're still trying to talk to Jeff, but no word back from Jeff. So this radio issue is going to be an issue throughout the day, it appears. And they're done with their pit stop, but again, nothing changed on the communication side. Jeff not hearing his crew.
Well, he probably has another radio in there, so they may have got him to switch over to the other radio.
There's a radio going in. They're handing him a radio inside the car, or trying to.
That's pretty tough.
Yeah, it looks like it has a harness hooked to it as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that could be wrong there. That's the unfortunate thing. They did make some changes with the rear springs. Brewer?
Hey, guys, what we have right here, this is the earplugs that actually plugs into the side of the helmet. But you're right, DJ. Right down here, we've got two radios. We've got a harness here. It's marked Radio 1, Radio 2. So if you got a problem, you just go to that second system. But I'm like you. I think this plug came loose, and that's where it affixes to the other side of the helmet. And what that does, it changes both systems. DJ?
Yeah, it doesn't take much sometimes, especially on the road courses where you're moving back and forth in the cockpit a little bit more than you would somewhere else for just a wire to get loose. And it only takes a little bit of that connection to come loose to not be able to have that communication.
Guys, I don't know what happened. That radio came disconnected. I see what we can here.
Well, they got it fixed now, so things are good. They might wish they hadn't, because he might be complaining about his car a little bit more, and we'll see what happens. Kyle Busch is your leader now. Jimmy Johnson in second. We'll be back to the Glen in just a minute.
Want to hear what everybody had to say about today's Watkins Glen race? Check out NASCAR Now, midnight tonight, ESPN2. Then our Monday roundtable. Ray Abraham, Boris Said, Randy LaJoy will talk all about today's race. That is tomorrow at 5 Eastern time. Live at Joe Gibbs Racing, Wednesday night, NASCAR Now, 5 p.m. Eastern. Then next weekend, we've got the nationwide race, the Carfax 250, Saturday at 3 Eastern, and the Sprint Cup Series race from Michigan next Sunday, 1 Eastern. All that upcoming on ESPN and ESPN2. Here today at Watkins Glen, just past a third of the way through today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race, and after the exchange of pit stops, got a new leader.
Absolutely. Kyle Busch is out front charging. The race car looks good. He's running some great times around this racetrack. And I'll tell you one of the things I'm watching for. I'm looking at that 48 and that 18. They both seem to have a ton of horsepower. And we heard Robbie Gordon in our pre-race show talking about having his car set up for more power versus fuel mileage. I wonder if any of these guys are on that task as well.
Well, they could be. You know, there's a lot of guys, before the race started, I was down at garage area talking to some teams, and they were talking about a 750 carburetor versus an 830 carburetor. That maybe they'll pick up a couple miles per gallon, maybe they'll pick up a couple laps. And I looked at the Roush teams. Almost all the Roush cars hit pit road in lap 20. Give me an indication they go like 35 laps, Alan.
Yep.
Now, that's longer than the rest of the guys we've seen out there, so maybe they're running the smaller carburetor.
There is someone on the track who is even faster than the race leader at the moment, and that's that 21 car that started last.
Well, he started in the back of the field, so I'm under the assumption the same thing that Robbie Gordon said. We're back in the pack, so we've got horsepower built into our ride today. Along with his talent, Marcus Ambrose is just completely hauling the heat today.
I tell you what, Ambrose has got it going on. You see him coming to the inner loop right there, just really going. But guys, I tell you, another hot corner, and it was this way last year's turn one. A lot of wheel hopping going on down there. This corner right here, a lot of them slid off. You saw Jeff Gordon last year had that problem. Take a look at the 44 car now, David Rudiman. He loses it off the racetrack. The classic wheel hop, and that's what happens if you just get a little deep. Let's watch Juan Pablo Montoya. Another guy got in deep. He held on to it, slid off the race course, didn't spin it. That was a really good piece of driving. Now take a look at Patrick Carpentier. He gets down in there. Oh, just holds on a big spin between him and P.J. Jones. They go around. And Alan, this wheel hopping in turn one, baby.
Remember in last year's race here, both Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon spun out of the lead in tricky turn one. We'll see how it unfolds as the day goes on, but it's been a hot spot so far here today. Oh, by the way, the difference between Kyle Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr., 6 laps between when they pitted. Kyle Busch out on fresh tires for 6 laps before Junior made his stop. Maybe that's why Kyle Busch is leading and Junior's back in 6th place. We'll keep an eye on how this final round of pit stops unfolds as we get a little bit later on into the race. And one other little quick strategy note, Robbie Gordon just back on and off pit road for some fuel only in the 7 car. Don't know whether they didn't get it full the first time or that's just a little strategy play, but we'll keep an eye on number 7. He right now is 39th, first car, 1 lap down.
Take a look at our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge. Which driver has the best chance of getting his first win of the season at Watkins Glen today? Is it A, Tony Stewart, B, Jeff Gordon, C, Kevin Harvick, or D, Greg Biffle? To play, text the word crew to 191 on your AT&T wireless phone and send in your answer. The results will be shown a little later on in the race, and standard text rates will apply. It's a tough choice there, although Jeff Gordon struggled a little bit early on. There's the 20 car of Tony Stewart. Tony's won 3 of the last 4 times he has come here, 4 of the last 6.
Jeff Gordon's 23rd, but he has improved his lap time some. They made a change to the chassis.
Moments ago here over the inner loop, the 7 car, Robbie Gordon getting off.
Careful, careful.
Whoa, contact with Tony Stewart on the way by.
That was an anxious moment for Tony Stewart there. He thought that Robbie probably was going to be a little bit slower getting back there, but Robbie was back in the gas and obviously didn't realize that somebody was coming too. No harm, though. Everything's good. Tony Stewart's up in 3rd place. Robbie Gordon is a lap down. Be interesting to see about that strategy that Alan was talking about. He came back in a second time just to get fuel, and we heard him talking about early before the race that fuel was their biggest concern.
I don't think it was strategy. I believe that they just had a problem with fuel. Like Alan said, maybe didn't get it full when they did make their pit stop, because nothing about being a lap down will work in your strategy.
We are, and I perish to say this, we are caution free thus far in terms of full course cautions here at Watkins Glen. Kyle Busch up front, the points leader in the 18 car. He is unbeaten on road courses in 2008. He won in the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Mexico City and then dominated from 30th starting spot at Infineon. He leads here at Watkins Glen. Aerial coverage from high above historic Watkins Glen International, brought to you by our good friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. We are moving in on the halfway point here at the Centurion boats at the Glen. 39 laps complete, working lap 40. 45 would be the halfway point. Our leader is Kyle Busch. Let's get you up to speed on the lead driver, starting with Mike Massaro.
Well, Doc, the one question mark in the 18 camp coming into this race was fuel mileage. Because of the engine problems we documented at the top of the show, they didn't get to experiment much during practice with a carburetor. They're not really sure exactly how much fuel mileage they'll be able to go. Steve Addington, the crew chief, though, decided to roll the dice and threw the carburetor on that motor, just trying to see how much mileage they can get out of it. Still a lot of question marks. Right behind him, though, Jimmy Johnson. We know he's been good over the course of his Sprint Cup Series career. However, the one blemish, no road course victories. They took a step in the direction of getting one of those wins by running here in the Nationwide Series yesterday. Chad Knaus, the crew chief, said before that run, Jimmy had always been tentative in road course racing, but because of their strong effort on Saturday, feels like Jimmy's much more confident behind the wheel right now. Speaking of confidence, how can you be more confident than Tony Stewart? After all, 4 victories here in Watkins Glen. He attributes that quite a bit to his go-kart experience as a young race car driver, but you got to also give some credit to his crew chief, Greg Zipadelli. Remember, in his formative years, he was a crew chief in what is now the Camping World East Series, formerly known as the Busch North Series, that ran here quite often. Certainly Zippy knows what it takes to set up a very strong race car here at the Glen. Carl Edwards still looking for a pretty big run. Spoke with his crew chief this morning, Bob Osborne, asking him to kind of evaluate the talent of his driver on a road course. He says since he began working with Carl to now, he's seen a tremendous improvement. Pushing him to answer into what specifically he's gotten better at, Bob just said every aspect of road course racing. Dave?
And as we peer back, we see Kevin Harvick needing a little more grip in that race car right now. He's one of the other teams that went to Road Atlanta and tested, but he'd never been there before. So their test was mainly about shaking things down with this brand new race car. Kevin improving every lap they tested. And I guess that was the biggest benefit. He got some time in the car. Now they know the thing is solid, and it runs solid. Top 10 now, Shannon.
Well, Dave Dale Earnhardt Jr. took the lead early, led for 28 laps. That's more than all of his other races here at Watkins Glen combined, he is still battling tight conditions, and the call has just come into Junior. Watch that fuel. Try to save us as much as you can.
And behind him is Martin Truex Jr. They're not counting themselves out of the chase just yet, guys. They're 17th in points right now. Martin Truex Jr. said, if we're going to make a move, it has to start right here at Watkins Glen. He said, hands down, we have to go for broke. It's all about going for the win. Martin, loving the car today, started 18th, running, well, top 8 pretty much the entire race. Shannon?
Yeah, Greg Biffle fighting just a little bit of loose conditions. I spoke with his crew chief, Greg Irwin. He told me, you know, at road courses, all you have to do is just be a little off, and it can ruin your entire day. So they're looking to get that car right for Greg Biffle. Now, Jeff Burton right behind him had a great run in the nationwide race last night. Of course, he ran out of gas. He has been starting to get loose on his runs. He starts off tight and then starts to get loose. His only finishes outside the top 15 have come the past 3 races. Doc?
He's got a flat tire or something. Can you tell which tire?
48 car Jimmy Johnson may have a problem. He is slowing down here out of turn 8 or turn 9 and headed up the short chute.
Could be a transmission issue.
Without a doubt, it's left side. All right, I do 4 tires here, guys. 4 tires.
It's the tire, Mike.
Well, it sounds to me like it's a tire, Andy. He just came over the radio and said he feels like it's on the left side. The team is up on the wall, ready to change all 4 tires.
We've been losing quite a bit of time to Kyle Busch over the last 6 or 8 laps, but wasn't sure. This seemed like something that came all of a sudden. We see him heading down pit road, go to the attention of his crew.
They will not be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel. 35 laps puts them at 78 to 80, so that would be very, very difficult. So he comes in. They said left side, so they're going to go to the left side first.
That's the bad news. The good news is on a road course, they won't go down a lap here. And they'll be able to get back out there, and Jimmy have a lot of work to do, but he'll have a chance to pass a lot of cars.
And we have seen that tires do make a difference here, because as Dale Jr. stayed out there that long, it got him behind by staying out there, because these other guys put on tires and picked up some speed, and he was out there for quite a while, as we see Jimmy Johnson going back on the racetrack.
There are 38 cars on the lead lap. That's the good news. The bad news is if you do lose a lap here, you have a hard time, unless you can get the lucky dog, you have a hard time getting a good finish. They're looking at those tires, if they can see if one has gone down.
Like they may have found one. No, maybe not.
Looks like all the tires have air in them, so there must be something else wrong. We'll obviously follow Jimmy Johnson as we see our leader here, Kyle Busch, still out front.
Kyle Busch, he dominated the only other road race of the year at Infineon, leading 78 of the 112 laps. He's leading here today. Dale Earnhardt Jr. won his first race this season at Michigan back in June. There have been 11 different winners in the last 11 August races at Michigan. 5 Michigan Sprint Cup races have been settled by a last lap pass. Folks, that's how good it gets in the Irish Hills. We'll be there next Sunday. Our coverage begins with countdown 1 o'clock Eastern time. Alan Bestwick, Brad Doherty, Rusty Wallace, and then live coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series action at Michigan International Speedway. We are just past the halfway point here. Kyle Busch now has led twice for 17 laps. And he's got some good laps going. Tony Stewart behind him, Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr. By the way, the 48 car in just a moment ago, and it was a left rear tire flat. Let's show you how the left rear tire had an issue here. Watch him on the race course. And DJ, you talked about this at the top of the show.
Yeah, only from experience, unfortunately. You can run off, and you just never know what you're going to pick up. That looked, harmless enough right there, but apparently he did pick up something in that left rear tire at this point in time. Mike?
Yeah, DJ, when we saw a shot of the tires as soon as they came off the car, it certainly looked like they were all inflated, but upon further examination, looking at that left rear, there was a very small little cut, maybe about a ½ an inch long, that gouged into that tire, which led to that problem right there, and we'll have to wait and see if Jimmy can recover from this.
What's our strategy now? Kind of working on it, pal. Really don't think I have one.
Strategy is pass as many cars as you can. Whoa, watch out, Sam. Sam Hornish is off the racetrack.
And he pulls up back on the track with a lot of gravel back on the track from that front splitter, which can double as a snow plow or a gravel plow here. Scattering gravel all over the racetrack. Sam had gained a bunch of positions after the drop of the green flag. Watch him here come out of turn 10.
It's in there too hot. Gets in that, and that's a good thing about the gravel. It keeps you out of the guardrail.
It does. He's wheeling this thing. Hey, gets it out. We heard Rusty Wallace talk about that very spot earlier in the show, and it is a trouble spot. You get in there just a little bit too hot, but he drove it right through. Could have been a lot worse.
The problem he's going to have now is he's got a lot of grass up in that grill area. He's going to have to keep an eye on that water temperature.
Sam Horney's first trip to Watkins Glen in a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series car. Has been here before in the IndyCar. Finished third in 2007 on his last IndyCar start. When the green flag waved, Sam made a lot of progress. In fact, he was the biggest gainer in the first 10 laps, gaining more spots in the field than anybody.
Yeah, he did it that time, but the man that's gained the most so far is Marcus Ambrose. And we have caution on the track now. Probably for that, Andy, just you said, a lot of debris. And
all the gravel up on the racetrack, and that can cause a lot of problems, and other flat tires that nobody wants to see.
Caution for the first time today, and it will slow this field down here on lap 47, just 43 to go. Kyle Busch is the leader, but we started to say a moment ago, the car that everyone's keeping an eye on is Marcus Ambrose, the Australian driver, who pulled off the upset of sorts yesterday here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. We'll update how good Marcus is and where he is coming the field when we come back to Watkins Glen International in just a moment. Under caution at Watkins Glen, let's take a look at our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge question. We ask you, which driver has the best chance of getting his first win of the season at Watkins Glen today? How'd you vote? Was it Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, or Greg Biffle?
Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick. How about although Stewart and Gordon have 4 wins each here, a lot of love for Kevin Harvick, who won here a couple of years ago. Now, how about it? Let's figure out who's going to come on the pit road. Let's open it up to our experts and Brad and figure out figure out who's going to pit under this yellow flag. What do you think, guys?
I'm saying everybody pits here and then just does a splash of fuel later.
Oh, gosh, I got to say, I think the Roush guys are going to come down pit road. We're pretty sure they can run 35 laps. They get some caution laps. They might be able to make it because when this thing goes back, they're going to have 40 to go. That's pushing it, but those guys might be able to pull that off.
I think everybody comes and they take a chance that there'll be another caution. And then they have another opportunity to get fuel. I think everybody comes this time by.
I think you got to stick with your strategy. We started with a strategy. Let's stick with it and pit whenever we were supposed to.
I'm glad y'all let me wait till last. I think I'm a leader. I'm staying out right here.
Oh, spoken like someone who looked in the rearview mirror.
That's what I was going to say anyway.
Well, let's go down to Shannon. Great job, guys.
Yeah, Doc, you see those guys pulling the cars down backwards the opposite side. Dale Earnhardt Jr. says the car is just getting a little tight. He's also having a little problem with his brakes. He says they just feel a little soft, so the guys are going to give him 4 tires. 88 guys go around to the opposite side of the car. It's fuel for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jamie.
Martin Truex Jr. in the 1-car top 5. They were going to stay up, but a last-minute call to bring them down. 4 tires. Once again, no adjustments on this 1 car. They're going for the win today, guys. Their fuel window was lap 54. That means they're going to have to stop again, maybe for a splash of fuel. He's down.
Casey King getting his service done. There comes Greg Biffle down pit road. Martin Truex. Let's go down to Dave.
And what they're going to do with Jeff Gordon's car is they want to get the rear end a little bit higher on this car. After they finish the pit stop, they're going to try to raise the track bar on both sides. There's actually 2 sides you can do this on. You can do one with a wrench like they're doing there easily, but on the other side, you can also raise it if you can get underneath the car. So when the fueling is done, we'll see what they do here. But they're trying to, the car is twitchy, the car is wheel hopping. Jeff's really not happy with it, so they're going to take some time here and try to really make this car right.
They have a lot of work to do on Jeff Gordon's car. It was running back in 25th position and just hanging on to stay there.
Yeah, it looked like every time. I mean, the beginning of the race, he could go somewhere around 10 laps, and then his car started to go away. It looked like the same thing.
2 more rounds. Listen to me. Raise it 2 more rounds. 2 more rounds up. All right, there you go. When he gets tight, let's go, Jason.
Yeah, they're adjusting this track bar, trying to help him out.
Jeff Gordon
really
trying to get this car dialed in. Top 14 cars stayed on the racetrack. Everyone else has been on pit road. Leaders coming out of turn 11 at Watkins Glen International as the green flag will get set to wave once again after the first and only caution flag of the day for debris on the racetrack. Juan Pablo Montoya and others spread out. Kurt Busch is there. Jamie McMurray is there. Try to move on the inside. Montoya on the inside of Kevin Harvick. We saw that movie a year ago.
Yeah, it gets very interesting on these restarts for this, and not just this very first lap getting in there the first time. For these next couple of laps, as we see Sam Hornishoff, he stayed on the pavement. He's just a lot of it out there.
Jeff Gordon in the back of that pack there trying to work his way through. Kyle Busch pulling away from his teammate, Tony Stewart. Again, these top 14 cars stayed on the racetrack. The big winner by virtue of this caution coming out might be that 48 car of Jimmy Johnson.
That was a big break for Jimmy to get that caution to stay on the racetrack. Gained a few spots. He's up to 12th spot right now, and he can get back on his strategy.
Yeah, right behind Jimmy Johnson, we saw Michael McDowell, who is a road racer and has done a terrific job here. I saw him earlier today, and he said he really thought that he had a car that he could get to the top 10.
Michael's best finish of the year came at Infineon when he finished 21st, and a lot of speculation that he may be looking or driving for a ride for 2009. May not be back in the double zero, trying to get opportunities as Dale Earnhardt Jr. will take that position away. That is the 13th spot. Jimmy Johnson on the inside of Bobby Labonte driving for the King, and Bobby slides off. Jimmy goes by.
Yeah, and just as you pointed out earlier, that's where we've seen him really excel the last 2 days in these races, is getting down into these corners, being able to outbrake these guys and not get his car out of shape.
I think he's learned a technique as far as braking that these road race experts know already, and that's just how to get that thing stopped. I think it's a skill.
You know, I think it's partly that, and they went to Road Atlanta for 2 days. We heard him talk about that right after they won Indy, they had to go to Road Atlanta for Monday and Tuesday after that, and I'm sure that that's a lot of what they worked on, knowing that's one of the best ways that you can pass here is being able to outbrake these guys and not get your car out of shape.
There are 38 cars still on the lead lap. Joe Nemechek, by the way, was the lucky dog, able to get back on the lead lap on that caution flag, putting us now with 38 cars. The other 4 cars or 5 cars are a lap down. Robbie Gordon, Reed Sorensen, Travis Quapple, David Rudiman, and Scott Riggs are a lap down. All 43 still running here on the racetrack.
Tony Stewart's been all over Kyle Busch, his teammate right here. Let's see if he can outbrake him getting in this corner.
I think he's ready to flex a little bit of muscle there. We saw Carl Edwards back in 3rd, and then Juan Pablo Montoya back in 4th. So he's really having a good run also. He said, again, his chances today, he really liked those, and he's proving it right now. Looks like he has a really fast race car.
You're going to see a lot of these guys start pitting in about 2 or 3 laps. When they get to that edge of that window, they feel like they can make it to the end of the race.
So, Doc and Andy and Jerry, here's what we're sitting down here thinking, and just throw it upstairs for you guys to bat around. These guys like Tony Stewart and Kyle Busch that did not pit, when are they going to stop? How's all this going to play out against Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was the first guy off pit road? How do you see this unfolding here?
Well, these guys are going to get 4 tires. The leaders are, and the guys that just pitted will probably get in here at the edge of their window, Alan, and get fuel. So they're going to be a little bit behind these leaders. It might just kind of balance itself out once they come off pit road.
Well, I think that they're going to stick with their strategy as we see Tony Stewart trying to make a pass here.
What about the 99 car, guys? Remember, they pitted on lap 21, and here he comes. Here comes Cousin Carl, jams the brakes on.
Yeah, definitely going to have to put a right front tire on. He flat spotted that one, but they're going to get 4 right here.
Yeah, and he knows that this is the point in time that they can make it from here. They got a good reading on that first time, and this is the point in time. This is going to be the last time we're going to see them on pit road unless they have a problem. Mike?
And Bob Osborne came over the radio and said, quote, Carl, as crazy as this sounds, we're pitting next lap. Sounds like they're pretty confident in their fuel mileage as they come down pit road. Carl just a little bit concerned about how tight he is, but thinks pretty much everybody else in the field is tight as well. Looking for a 4-tire change on the 99 car as a team now going to work on the left side of that race car. Remember, opposite footwork for this team as they now swing around to the right side. They're in sync. A very clean stop so far for the 99 up on the jacks. They complete their stop, but now very slow off the jacks as they pull away. But it seemed like there was a bit of a delay there toward the end of that stop.
Yeah, that was a slow stop. It takes about 14 seconds really to get the cars full of fuel when they're out of fuel, but they weren't completely empty. I don't know why it took so long to get that car filled up.
Now, they were making sure they got all that they had in there, though. As we see, Tony Stewart has taken the lead away from Kyle Busch here.
37 laps is what the 99's got to go. If we go green, you think can he make it, or does he gonna need some help?
If it goes green, he won't make it. I think he's counting on some caution laps here to extend that. I don't think anybody can go quite that far on fuel.
Tony off right there in the edge.
This is teammates working together right here. Tony Stewart's not fully, he's not totally in the chase as it is right now. He's up in there as it is, but not really comfortably.
Thank you, sir.
So Tony gets his 5 bonus points right here. Now let's see what happens as they go to turn 1. Tony Stewart pulls over.
Waves the M&Ms on by. Thank you very much for my 5 points. And Tony, by virtue, is now being shown in 7th spot in the point standings. If the race ended right now, he would have gained 2 more positions.
Yeah, it might seem kind of trivial that 5 points could make any difference, but when we get down to Richmond time and at the end of that night, and we see who's in that top 12.
Kyle Busch, a dominant performance with 7 wins this year, headed to the chase. 5 races to go, entering this week in the chase. You see, there's the battle. It was only 91 points between 7th and 13th entering today. See, Tony Stewart's gained a couple of spots. Kevin Harvick up 1.
Right there's where the point battle is. Kyle Busch not too worried about points. He just wants to get another win and add to the bonus points that he'll have when the chase starts.
Marcus Ambrose, one of the cars we've been trying to keep an eye on here, back in 17th, but maybe one of the quickest cars, continuing to be one of the quickest cars throughout the day. Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, right now Marcos Ambrose telling his crew chief he thinks he might have a loose wheel. Crew chief trying to diagnose the problem, says, do you know if it's the right or the left? Marcos cannot figure it out. They said just stay out, try to feel it out. They do plan on possibly coming down on lap 56. So right now, possibly a problem with Marcos Ambrose.
Well, what a shame. Marcus Ambrose and the Wood brothers, they won here in 1965. The Wood brothers are talking about with Marvin Panch, and would it be a great return to prominence for that 21 car?
See these guys waving. They're not to pit road yet, but I think they just want to tell people behind them that, hey, I'm going to come down pit road this lap. Don't run over me.
I'm coming too. Just follow him right
I would think that Tony would become. They pitted together the first time, and I believe that's what we're hearing right now, that these 2 Gibbs cars are coming into pit road.
Watch them, and they're going to jam the brakes on 35. You don't want to speed here now to come. Kevin Harvick will also come with them. Robbie Gordon right behind these guys was a lap down. He will be able to get back on the lead lap now as he was in front of Juan Pablo. There's Burton in. Harvick coming down. Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart, McMurray.
Denny Hamlin back there, another Joe Gibbs car.
So the rest of these 14 cars that stayed out under the caution flag are on pit road. Mike.
Kyle Busch on pit road right now, saying he's getting a little bit loose off, but otherwise very confident in his race car, saying they're extremely good at the beginning of a run. Looking for a 4-tire change on Kyle Busch's car. Right behind him, his teammate 2 stalls back. That's Tony Stewart. His car extremely tight. They'll make an air pressure adjustment and a 4-tire change on the 20 car.
18 and 20 come off of pit road. And the 0-7 day, but what's going on there?
It's a little bit of a slow stop and a stall for Clint leaving. Also had Denny Hamlin on pit road for just a splash of fuel. He stopped on the last caution flag. And also Kevin Harvick on and off pit road. 4 tires, wedge adjustment for the 29 car.
By virtue of that pit stop, the 0-7 of Clint Boyer would move back to 13th in the point standings. Marcus Ambrose, we had a report that he had a tire issue.
What Ambrose needs to do is get a shot of fuel and tighten those wheels up right here. They really don't need to take the time to change the tires. There we go. That's what they're doing. You see the tire changer just snugging up the wheels and let him go.
Got to be very careful not to speed. Got to be so difficult to do when you know you want to get there in a hurry, just to sit there and run at 35 miles an hour.
I don't know how you drivers do that. I swear I don't.
It's something really hard to do, and you just have to make sure that you stay on that. You know, you want to push the limit of that. You've got 5 miles per hour that you can work with in there, but you have to be very careful. And as you go downhill and out, it's very tempting as you get to those cones.
And remember, that's what cost him the win at Montreal last week after he dominated by leading 27 laps. He was caught speeding, entering and exiting the pits, and had to have a pass-through. It cost him the win after the race was stopped and red flag for Ray.
Juan Pablo Montoya leading the race here.
Yeah, he's our in-race reporter, but we won't talk to him right now. We'll wait a little while and see if we can do that. But he's on the pit road right now as we speak.
What should be his final stop. 42 car, looking for his first win in 2008. Brian Patty and company going to work.
They need a good stop here. He's done a great job in driving his car up through the pack and getting himself in a position to at least compete for the win here.
Got a shot from the Chip Goods camera. He's the rear tire carrier.
Good stop.
Very good stop.
That's one of the better stops we've seen on pit road with this reversed pit wall for these guys. Here comes David Gilliland into his pit.
We talked about David earlier. He'd done a great job. Jeff Gordon back on pit road here.
Dave? Jeff Gordon is on pit road now, guys. Ron Fellows also fuel only. He had tires on the last stop. They'll put tires on Jeff's car. They're going to make some more. Just 2 left side tires. Pick up some track position here and see if Jeff can drive his way by a bunch of guys.
Interesting strategy, Andy. Getting 2 tires. I mean, I know what they're trying to do there, but usually it's either 4 or none.
Well, they just needed to try to make up a little bit of track time because they've just struggled so much today, and they spent a lot of time on pit road making changes.
Cycling through pit stops, that will put Jimmy Johnson at the head of the field. It is Johnson, Truex, Earnhardt Jr., Casey Kane, and Paul Menard, 2 DEI drivers in the top 5.
Hello, this is John Miller inviting you to join Joe Morgan, Peter Gammons, and me from Wrigley Field, Chicago at 8 Eastern, 7 Central for a big pennant race ball game between the Cardinals and the Cubs. Friday, former Cardinal Jim Edmonds hit 2 homers and the Cubs won in extra innings. Yesterday, the Cardinals pounded out 16 hits, winning 12-3. A rubber match tonight at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Chris Carpenter up against Ryan Dempster on Sunday Night Baseball.
Welcome back to the Centurion boats at the Glen NASCAR Sprint Cup Series event. They were calling for rain today, but we haven't needed to bring the boats out because it is a gorgeous day here at Watkins Glen International. There is the leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr., because Jimmy Johnson a moment ago decided to go ahead and come on pit road, took on 4 tires and filled it full of fuel. Here's Jimmy just a moment ago coming in, and they were going to come in and just try to get all they could get here as soon as they could get on the pit road.
Decided to get 4 tires right here. Dale and I were just talking. He probably wants to have good tires on at the end. Count on some caution flag laps to get caught back up here and be able to race these guys. The better tires you have, the more spots you can make.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of interesting strategy. Just a lot of things playing out. These guys think 4 tires is their best opportunity to try to make a good day from it.
The one strategy I don't understand is Dale Earnhardt Jr. staying out on the racetrack as long as he has.
You see Casey Kane coming off of pit road right there. He was the 2nd place car. He came in that time, just got fuel. No tires for that car at all.
Earnhardt Jr. pitted on lap 50. So he's
got a splitter brace broken right in the center. I don't think it'll hurt him. Probably comes from bouncing over these curbs.
Here's the 18 car of Kyle Busch. Remember, they exited pit road right in front of each other. It was Kyle and then Tony. There's the 20 car of Tony Stewart. They are 2nd, 3rd. Ryan Newman back behind them in 4th. Then Truex is 5th.
Kyle's car seemed to be a little bit better on the get-go on those new tires, but I've been watching the last couple of laps. It seems that Tony Stewart's car is now starting to come around to him.
Earnhardt Jr., how long do you wait before you bring him in?
I think they've waited too long already. I mean, if the caution comes out right now, they're going to be stuck. They'll have to make a pit stop and go behind all these guys. He needs to get down pit road right now and get back out before that happens.
Tony Eury Jr. Waiting to make the call. They made their first stop on lap 30.
I'm sure he's telling him right now to get in. There's really nothing to gain by staying on the racetrack at this point.
Yeah, and they're getting beat by about a 2nd a lap on the racetrack is the thing. I think that's one of the biggest things is he's just losing a lot of time. Shannon?
Yeah, right now there is no conversation on the radio. So Tony Eury Jr. not telling his driver to come down pit road. Number 8, like you said, Doc, they pitted on lap 50. They wanted to stay out as late as they could on that one. I guess that's what they're doing right now. I'm going to try to get in there and chat with Tony Jr. and find out what their plan is.
Earnhardt Jr. stays on the racetrack, and of course he's the leader. Then Kyle Busch and Stewart have already pitted. Newman has been in. Truex. Marcus Ambrose has been back in on the 21 car, and he is being shown in 5th position.
I can't say enough about what they've done. We see the 28 car has been off the track. He's got a lot of gravel coming out of that, and that's the thing that brought out our last
This could
caution.
really hurt Dale Earnhardt Jr. if this caution comes out, and they may have to throw it for this. They had to throw it earlier.
No caution thus far. Flagman staying green. Quapple back on the racetrack. That's Joe Nemechek in front of him. Here again's a 28 car over on the inner loop.
Yeah, this is a different spot on the racetrack. This may not be quite as critical where this gravel is coming on the track.
I don't know. He's throwing it. Yeah, that's. I mean, that's right where guys are coming out of that inner loop. So that is going to be a call that NASCAR is going to have to look at making.
NASCAR has the ability to be able to review all the cameras with their spotters around the racetrack and look for, and they have made the decision.
That was a bad break for Junior right there.
They will bring out caution for the 2nd time a day, and that is not a good sign for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Back in a moment.
Just the 2nd caution out in today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race at Watkins Glen. It comes just past the 2/3 mark of the race, with only Dale Earnhardt Jr. out on the racetrack, not having made what would be his final pit stop. Puzzlement over the strategy of Team 88 as the field comes to the opening of pit road, and we'll see how many others may join this 88 car on pit lane.
He'd have to go a long way, 40 laps, and that is out of their field window, I believe.
Well, we're going to find out right here just a little bit. If he goes down pit road,
or we can just run this window out and do a gas and go at the end.
Oh, man,
I think
that is
that's
painful.
the only shot to
That
get
is
back
a
up there.
painful right-hand turn
right?
under the circumstances.
Well, let's see how many follow him in.
Come on, pit.
There won't be many, I don't think.
They're going to call Junior in. Looks like Kyle Busch is going to stay out.
And boy, that is a sick field. When you got to come down pit road, you got to line up behind all those guys that stayed out. Yeah. Just a bad call. They made a mistake.
Had a race car to win, too.
Shannon?
Yeah, guys, you heard the discussion over the radio. They did come down and pit 4 tires for this number 88 team. Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying that the car is just getting a little bit tight on him. But right now, working on those tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's down and away.
So Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the only one of 38 lead lap cars to come down pit road under this caution. One more, Sam Hornish will also pit, so that's ouch for Junior's team so far. Here's our McDonald's race rundown. What's happened so far? Kyle Busch started on pole, qualifying rained out, field lined up according to points. Just a lap into the race, Dale Earnhardt Jr. went by Kyle and into the lead. Kyle shuffled back a couple spots. Turn 1 has been trouble.
Boy, sure had. You see Juan Pablo Montoya getting into real hot slides off the racetrack, but holds on. And look at Patrick Carpentier. Does the same thing, but this time they both spin.
Jimmy Johnson, a contender for the win, maybe again, but had a little trouble earlier.
Yeah, he could have possibly got a little tire trouble when he ran off the track there. Something caused the tire to go down. Had to come in and pit on lap 43.
And a little teamwork for bonus points where the race to the chase is concerned. Tony Stewart kind of on the bubble for making the championship, so Kyle Busch let Stewart by for a lap to gain bonus points toward leading the race. And then Dale Jr. staying out onto the racetrack, not having made his final pit stop until this caution wave. We'll see where Jr. lines up for the restart and just how it all shakes out when we come back to Watkins Glen. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Watkins Glen, brought to you by the Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse. And Coors Light. Get Coors Light pole position alerts on your cell phone. Just text POLE to 42100.
Getting set for the restart here. Just 25 laps to go. It'll be Kyle Busch, teammate Tony Stewart, Ryan Newman there in the Dodge is third, Truex, Marcus Ambrose. What a story that would be back in 5th position. The last time a driver got his first ever nationwide win on Saturday and the Cup win on Sunday back-to-back was Carl Edwards in 2005 in Atlanta. Could it happen today? Ambrose under attack from Denny Hamlin for 5th spot. Hamlin will try the high side.
Yeah, Marcus protects the spot down in there. We see a lot of guys trying to make some passes down in there. Well, what a great job Marcus Ambrose has done. I don't know if he can win this race. Andy, I know you believe that he can. I'm not sure he can pass the 18 and the 20, but this is just a terrific job and shows just how talented this man is on a road course.
I think he can. He's made his last pit stop. He's got a great race car. He's doing everything right so far. I think he actually can win this race.
Making only his 3rd ever start in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Started at Infineon, finished 22nd, by the way, at Indianapolis in the Brickyard 400, and now just trying to hang on. Good side-by-side racing here. The 0-1 car, Ron Fellows. On the high side, there's Carl Edwards going by.
A.J. Allmendinger right behind him, and A.J.'s done a terrific job in making his way up there. He's in the 12th spot right now.
Yeah, those are 10th, 11th, and 12th, Edwards, Fellows, and Allmendinger. A lot of speculation about A.J. Allmendinger, what he may do next year after that great top 10 finish. Red Bull team looking at who may be their drivers for 2009. What about Dale Earnhardt Jr.? That decision, the pit, when the caution, and wait till the caution came out, he's back in 31st position. Shannon.
Yeah, down here with Tony Jr., crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr. You guys have been speculating. What was the strategy to stay out so long for you guys?
Well, we were just going to go and stop there early, and we were just going to come in and splash it. But, I mean, the car's gotten off for some reason. We started slowing down by a second, so it does no good there. So we were just trying to ride around and try to log as many laps as we could. But caution had to come out, you'd be sitting rosy, but you know, a couple dirt hit the racetrack, so you know, we kind of lost that battle. So you know, it's terrible. I give away the races basically, but I mean, everybody's doing the same strategy. It's kind of a ridiculous little race we got here.
All right, thanks, Tony Jr.
Very frustrated, obviously, and in his car, by the way, Earnhardt Jr. back in 32nd position, and he came in second in the points. Right now, if the race were to end, he would lose 2 positions, as Carl Edwards would move to second and Jimmy Johnson would move to third in the point standings with 4 races remaining until the chase. There is Earnhardt Jr., the 88 car, and behind him, Jeff Gordon. They are 30th and 31st. Neither one are going to have the day they're going to want to remember for a long time.
Yeah, and the other thing for Junior is he's back in this traffic, and he's going to have to really be aggressive to try to pass these guys, and he's going to have to put himself in some compromising positions, as we see him right now diving up underneath P.J. Jones.
Yeah, the thing that's a little disappointing or that's different between these two, Junior had a car capable of winning this race, and Jeff Gordon has really struggled. They came in again and got tires this last time, so they just really struggled. As you see, he was trying to get around the 96 car, P.J. Jones, and can't even make that happen right now. So it's been a very frustrating day for Jeff.
Yeah, they came in on lap 66 for 4 tires for the 24, and this really hasn't helped them a lot. A little pushing and shoving there in the inner loop. McMurray in the 26 and the 10 of Carpentier.
Everybody realizes now they've made their last pit stop. What they have is what they've got with their car right now, and they're going to try to make every position, and they know where the spots are that they can try to take, and they're going to try to make some opportunities that maybe aren't there.
5 car of Casey Mears. A lot of speculation this weekend as to where he will head in 2009. People pointing the finger that he may be the 4th driver for Richard Childress Racing next year.
It looks like the logical place for him to go right now. I know they've had conversations and trying to make that work, and I'm sure that whenever the time's right that Richard Childress and Casey Mears will tell us if indeed that is exactly what happened. But if it is, it'd be a good fit for Casey.
"21 laps to go at Watkins Glen. 26th year the NASCAR Sprint Cup cars have run here. Qualifying washed away. Kyle Busch, our leader. He's the points leader and the race leader. Here's our Aflac trivia question. Who was the last driver to win 3 straight races from the pole at one racetrack? Let you think about that. We could even give you a clue. It happened right here. It was Mark Martin in Watkins Glen, 93, 94, and 95.
Well, pushing and shoving going on right here with Jeff Gordon and P.J. Jones.
I don't think it's finished either. Got everybody jammed up behind him, which can create even more problems for some people, but it looks like Jeff finally won that little argument.
How frustrating does this have to be for Jeff Gordon, who has historically been the best driver at this racetrack?
It's really got to be frustrating. You know, they've really struggled all day long. They've been in and on and off pit road. Whoa, P.J. Jones goes around.
Yeah, little contact from Sam Hornish right there.
Bounces off the tire barrier, gets it refired.
No caution, get it rolling now.
It's going to cost him a lot of time. He was battling hard up there with Jeff Gordon just to.
He got that tire wall pretty good.
Yeah, he sure did.
He's got some damage on the rear of this car.
Show you the pushing and shoving we're talking about a moment ago here in the pack. Watch the 24 car.
Blaney comes across. There's PJ. Little body slamming from the 96 and 24.
It looked like Gordon had position on him getting into the inner loop.
As they came out here, though, Jeff car got cut off a little bit, and Jeff lost the front end grip.
Then the follow-up here, PJ trying to get in, and the contact from Sam Hornish in turn 11.
I can't say PJ was doing anything wrong there. He was just trying to make that corner, and Sam was just trying to press the issue a little bit, which is going to happen on these road courses.
Kyle Busch, 2 road course wins and a second-place finish yesterday in the NASCAR Nationwide race in 3 starts this year. Not a bad record. Trying to get win number 3. He is just 19 laps away.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell tonight at 8 Eastern. That tight National League Central race matchup there with Albert Pujols and the St. Louis Cardinals facing Derek Lee and the Cubbies. ESPN 8 Eastern tonight. Then Monday Night Baseball presented by Holiday Inn moves to ESPN 2. It's Ryan Howard and the Phillies taking on Manny Ramirez and the Dodgers. That sounds so weird to say. At 10 Eastern time. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Final stages of the Centurion boats at the Glen. Watkins, Glen, New York. 17 laps to go. Kyle Busch, the leader, opening up a little gap on Tony Stewart. But sitting here just wondering if Kyle Busch has enough fuel to go to the finish of this race. He stopped at lap 56-57, so 33 laps to go. They've had about 2.5 laps of caution.
He should be able to make it no problem. I think that's well within their window. Although Kyle Busch is one of the hardest drivers out there, and he's not really good at saving gas, I would think. This guy's, when you're in the throttle, you're using gas.
But you know what? I've watched his times, and they've slowed up a little bit. I mean, he was really, really booking it here about 5 laps ago. He's backed it up probably a 10th or so. I think he's trying to conserve a little bit, and he's still as quick as anyone in the field.
Well, I know the man who can tell us. The man who's covering Kyle Busch's pit. Mike Massaro is down there. What are they saying, Michael?
Well, I can tell you what they're saying, but I'm not sure if I can tell you. They're telling him to save fuel. They seem to be right on the edge, but as we reported earlier in the day, they've got an experimental carburetor, one that they didn't get to try during practice because of other engine issues, so they're not really sure exactly how far they can go, but they are telling Kyle to save fuel. It's going to be close, that's for sure. Meanwhile, his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate, Tony Stewart, well, fuel's not necessarily the issue. Handling is. He said he needs the car to turn a little bit better. Last time down pit road, they made a track bar adjustment and an air pressure adjustment. It seems to be helping, but still, he's got a ways to go before he reels in his teammate. Shannon?
Yeah, Mike, Ryan Newman right behind Tony Stewart. Last pit stop was on 58. Just asked the crew if they could make it to the end, and I got I don't knows across the board. So right now, Ryan Newman solidly in 3rd. This team has said that they are going to scratch claw their way into the chase. Right now, 15th in the points. So this is a good day for Ryan Newman if he can maintain that 3rd. Jamie?
It's been a good day for Martin Truex Jr., who's right behind him as well, who's looking, Marcos Ambrose looking to the inside. That's Martin Truex Jr. in the 1, and that's actually Juan Pablo Montoya who got around him. But Martin announcing on Friday, it's official, he has re-signed with DEI to run in 2009. A little extra hop in his step as well as the teams. They're excited about the effort their drivers putting in. Their goal is to be top 5 all 5 races before the chase. Shannon?
Well, Jamie, Marcos Ambrose said coming into this race, the biggest thing, the most important thing was to get that car comfortable. He knew he was going to have to fight for his track position. He said, even if we're not the fastest car on the track, if it's comfortable, then I can move through the field. Now, Juan Pablo Montoya right behind Marcos Ambrose. This is a great run for that team. He finished 40th in this race last season. Even though he won on the road course at Sonoma last season, Juan Pablo Montoya said, you know, we won on strategy. Right now, I think this team is good enough where we can actually beat them with our performance. Dave?
Denny Hamlin, as you will come into the picture here, running in the 7th position. Denny complaining that he's had brake fade, which has led to losing the front end of the race car. On fuel mileage, they can make it to the end of the race if the race ends on lap 90. No overtime, or the 11 might be really close, according to crew chief Mike Ford. Behind him, Kevin Harvick questioned whether they should have come down pit road last time and maybe took on 4 tires with higher air pressures. I just checked with Todd Barrier, his crew chief, and he said, you know, we didn't do that, but now Kevin went out and he's running the fastest times of the race so far. So 29 going good now. Mike?
And the 99, Dave, Carl Edwards, really one of those guys trying to milk his fuel mileage. He last stopped on lap 52. Speaking with his team, they said, well, we don't know if we can make it, but if the caution flags do fall for us, we can go the distance. But they have really no choice but to try right now. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson was dealt a bit of a bad card earlier in this race. Midway through, had a cut left rear tire and really forfeited a lot of very good track position. So far, though, they've rallied back for really a good run. They've maintained their poise and could turn in a very solid top 5 finish if they continue their forward progress. Shannon?
Yeah, Mike, A.J. Allmendinger, this is a great run for that 84 team. They're good to go on fuel to the end. Been very quiet over the radio. A.J. said one of his worst habits is that he gets too aggressive. If he can stay calm, then he feels like he can have a great run, and this is a great run for that 84 today. Dave?
Shannon, right behind them, Ron Fellows, road course specialist in that 01 car. I asked Dan Stillman, his crew chief, can he wrestle the car and drive it fast? Just a little bit tight was Dan's answer, but I think he'll be good. They'll be a little bit close on fuel. Maybe, again, overtime would be their only issue. Doc?
All right, David, so one thing we're noticing watching A.J. Allmendinger here. Oh, look at this. Ryan Newman. Hello, Newman. That's not good. Weren't we just talking about that? Oh, look out.
Oh, man. Oh.
Hey, clear up, clear up.
No caution flag on the course yet, just in that section of the track.
They need one bad. Get a caution.
Now it's out.
Oh, man.
Wow. Boy, he's sitting driver's side first right at the track. They all miss him. Unbelievable.
And you know what? That's a tough spot on this racetrack because where they have spotters around the racetrack,
Can you get it fired? I get 77, stop pushing.
it's hard for the spotter to see down at the very bottom of that hill at that exit of that corner.
You know what, guys? This is interesting now because this gives Marcos Ambrose and Juan Pablo Montoya an opportunity to restart with Kyle Busch and Tony Stewart, who were much quicker than they were on the previous laps. It's going to bunch them all up. This is going to be really a shootout.
And you see his teammate now trying to push Ryan Newman, that same horsepower, trying to get that car fired up. And
he's trying.
Looks like he just can't get the thing to go. Let's see what happens here. Looks like it's going to refire. Should fire any second here. That car's not starting, guys. It just won't get going at all.
How about that for teamwork?
He might have accidentally hit the kill switch on the steering wheel. That could happen.
This is tricky turn 1 once again.
I mean, when you come in that hard, you just got to believe the car got into wheel hop and it slid off the course.
And then he's right back in the racing line at the exit of that corner, and the traffic is scattering.
Carl Edwards did an incredible job.
This is from Juan Pablo Montoya.
12 is off. Dig. Dig on the bottom and dig, dig, dig. Beautiful. Keep digging. Still green. Still green.
And now from Ron Fellows.
12-6 on your outside.
Whoa, that's...
Wow.
You're all clear. You're all
Not a lot
clear.
of room there.
Scary.
Have to go get a new uniform after that.
Well, a couple laps of caution might take fuel to the finish out of the mix for some of these leaders. Though then again, that's, as Dave said, if the race finishes at lap 90.
Working caution number 3 at historic Watkins Glen International. After the spin by the 12 car, Ryan Newman, who is on pit road with the hood up, trying to get his Dodge refired. And by virtue of Sam Hornish stopping to help his friend, Hornish has moved himself out of the top 35 in owners' points, allowing the 0-0 car to move up, and Hornish will have to try to pass that car to get back into position. The field coming around, and this yellow flag, Andy, should give some of these guys who were close on fuel the option to stay on the racetrack and not be overly concerned.
Yeah, this is definitely going to help these guys that were close on fuel. We hear some of them are shutting the engines off to try to save even more, as much as they can. But boy, we're getting ready to have us a good race right here.
If you are a fan of underdogs, how about what Marcus Ambrose might be able to do? Right before the caution came out, Ambrose was quicker than Tony Stewart and running laps almost even to Kyle Busch. Now, the problem is he's got to get by Tony Stewart to get to Kyle Busch. That's easier said than done.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't have to do any more from here. I know he wants to win this race, but what a terrific job he has done today. 38 spots he's picked up. I mean, he was, starting back here. It's just been terrific. Just a great job by Marcus Ambrose and that team.
He would have gotten a vote, but the All-State Good Hands Move of the Race Award goes to the entire field. All these cars coming down, and watch them miss. Great drop.
How about Carl Edwards?
Ryan Newman. Look at, Truex getting by. Cost him a couple of spots. And on behalf of the entire field, Allstate will donate $1,000 to the Urban Youth Racing School. Back with a green flag at Watkins Glen in a moment. Back at Watkins Glen International, they have called off the restart because Ryan Newman's Dodge is once again stalled on the race course. He had exited pit road and come around, and the car just rolled to a halt. We saw him trying to pound the dashboard up where some of the electronics are a moment ago to get the car refired, and it has not responded. Under caution for the third time due to the spin by that car. Here's Marcus Ambrose, third position, trying to go for the sweep. He won here, got his very first NASCAR Nationwide Series win yesterday, and Shannon from 43rd to 3rd today.
That's right. The man who has worked him through the field is David Hyder. Marcos Ambrose behind Tony Stewart, in front of Juan Pablo Montoya. What's on his mind right now?
Well, I tell you, Mark's done a great job today. He stayed out of trouble all day. He's passed more cars than anybody on the track. I tell you, I got to give a lot of credit to him. He's kept our car out of the wrecks, and our fuel mileage has worked for us, and looks like it's going to pay off.
Yeah, and as we were sitting here, guys, there was a piece of debris on this front stretch. We saw some of the guys go over it, so keep an eye on that.
Kyle Busch, the leader. Tony Stewart second. Marcus Ambrose. He came to this country with a dream of getting a chance. Just give me a chance, he said. I want to get in NASCAR and show you what I can do. Well, yesterday at Watkins Glen, in his 59th career start, Australian driver Marcus Ambrose was the one smiling in victory lane as a winner. Ten laps to go here in the Centurion boats at the Glen. Who's it going to be? Kyle Busch dominated and won at Infineon. Can he hold on? Tony Stewart, his teammate, right behind him. How about the ultimate underdog, Australian Marcus Ambrose, back in third spot with a hungry Juan Pablo Montoya behind him. Here comes Ambrose, and Montoya will try to dive under him in turn one.
Ambrose did a good job of keeping Montoya back there so far, and that's going to be important that he can do that up through the S's. See cars getting out of shape back here through turn one. We see Marcus up through the S's here. Getting up to this to the inner loop is going to be very important. His car seems to be good after he gets just this part of the race gone after a restart, isn't he?
I thought he did a great job right there on a defensive move going into turn one to keep this 42 car from getting inside. Does a good job through here, through this inner loop.
Boy, when you can pull Juan Pablo Montoya coming off a road course, you've done something. Our Wrangler telemetry on board with Montoya's Dodge. Wow, 160 plus miles an hour in that short chute there going into turn 10.
Yeah, fast road course.
Update on Montoya. Shannon?
Yeah, the update is he's happy with the car, as you can tell, guys. Pretty quiet over the radio, nothing to report. Juan Pablo crashed on the track.
Oh, heavy contact, cars crashing. There's Hornish. One car in flames. Heavy contact, the 43 involved, Blaney involved. 38. David Gillen is heavy. The whole front of that car
nothing you can do.
sheared away. There's David Gillen. The good news is the window net is down, and he is pulling the visor up. Look at the front of that car, completely destroyed. Michael Waltrip involved.
Boy, Dave Blaney's car is destroyed in the front also. Oh, it looks...
Bobby Labonte is hit hard, and he is
taking a big hit here.
Yeah, he's trying to get over to get to the wall. Bobby hit front and back. You see all the barrels that have been destroyed there where the Hornish car hit. Blaney's car, hard impact inside and out.
Don't know what started that, but boy, that was a huge wreck.
Look at David Gillen's car, front and back, just destroyed. There's a 70 car, Max Pappas. And they obviously will red flag Joe Nemechek involved. Red flag this field because there is just nothing but just a field of debris.
See, Bobby Labonte's still hurting there. He's walking, but he's hurting. He's just wanting to get away from there. We talked about how fast they go into that next to the last corner, but they still they're full throttle coming out of the last corner, and when something happens, obviously it's very big.
Dave Blaney out of the car. You see him walking away there. the 12 car. Sam Hornish trying to get a push. He's trying to get his car pushed and restarted.
He just stalled here. I don't think he was part of this accident. I think his car just stalled again.
Yeah, Bobby Labonte getting into the back of the ambulance here. There's David Gilliland walking to run across the wall. Same car he had that great run with at Infineon. There's Max Pappas. Show you what happened here with 8 laps to go in turn 11.
Then Michael McDowell gets into the back of Gilliland, getting into the corner here. Oh my goodness. Just a hard lap.
Right across in front of Labonte, who backs that car into the guardrail. There comes the 77 of Hornish. He was involved. See, Ryan Newman just stopped in the 12 car.
That was a lot of really hard hits right there.
Gilliland, oh, that's a 43 car that came down, and yes, Gilliland bounced off the wall. Watch from Clint Boyer's onboard camera. Oh, he just gets by, but the car behind him.
Big wreck behind you. Big crash, bud. Back her down.
And look at the debris. Wow. Those garbage cans where Sam Hornish broadsided him with the side of his Dodge. Watch Robbie Gordon somehow pick his way through this mess.
Check her up.
Ryan Newman also, no contact, but he stalled his car, and they've had a hard time keeping it running, so he can't get it started. See Max Pappas' car up against the guardrail.
Looked like that happened with Michael McDowell and David Gilliland kind of arguing over some spots there.
Bobby Labonte, Dave Blaney, Hornish, Gilliland, Pappas, Nemechek, Newman, and Sorensen involved. Aerial coverage above the mess that is the red flag here at Watkins Glen. The coverage brought to you by our friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. Well, there are 9 drivers involved in this one, and many of these guys will not get to the finish line today. The 70 car, Max Pappas, hard contact against the guardrail. Let's listen in to his radio.
Sorry, guys. Come on. We need an awesome race, and we don't deserve this. I'm so upset. In for, bud. You're all right in there, are you? Yeah, I'm broken in my heart, but I'm under control.
You could hear the disappointment. Max Pappas is one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to be around. He was so excited to be here yesterday in Rusty's car and to be here in the 70 car today and to be a part of this, and such disappointment.
Yeah, it really is. You hate it for somebody that just wants to do this so bad. Max, he just loves coming here and driving these cars and wants to be a part of either one of these series.
Here he is coming out of the car. You could just hear the heartbreak in his voice, and what a great guy. Tough day.
Unfortunately, it doesn't always turn out like we want to, but he, as you said, he's a great guy, great family guy.
Here are the cars involved. The original contact was Michael McDowell and the 38 of David Gilliland. Gilliland rebounds off and catches Bobby Labonte front and back. Dave Blaney, heavy front end damage. Reed Sorensen couldn't get stopped, got front end damage. Michael Waltrip also some fender. Max Pappas, you saw, against the guardrail. Sam Hornish Jr. sideways into the barrels, and Joe Nemechek front end of his car damage trying to get stopped. Let's check out today's sprint monster moment. A monster hit by David Gilliland. The ricochet off to Bobby Labonte, who got it front and by. Look at Sam Hornish. That's why they put those barrels there.
These guys are all wide open coming out of this last corner. They're trying to make passes. We're down inside of 10 laps to go. It's just the worst possible spot for everything to happen right here in front of the majority of the field.
For more monster moments, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. 8 laps to go here at Watkins Glen. A 9-car crash has brought out a red flag. The drivers are all out of the cars, and it will take a while to clean up this mess. Back in a moment.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Watkins Glen, brought to you by Aflac. Ask about it at work. By McDonald's. And by Vitamin Water. It works for Carl Edwards. Try it. Under the red flag at 82 of 90 laps complete after a massive 9-car accident off the final corner. Dave Blaney's car, one of those heavily damaged to get all the drivers out of their cars. Jamie?
Well, and we're back here at the Infield Care Center. And David Gilliland was checked and released, and he refused to comment at this time. But Dave Blaney is joining us now. First of all, Dave, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Can you tell us what happened?
I really couldn't see anything get started. I couldn't see through the cars in front of me. You know, you kind of couldn't see through them. And a couple guys in front of me were checking up, and it looked like you could just keep coming. And then there they were sitting there. You just couldn't see through the cars. And it was a big hit for a bunch of guys.
Glad to see that Dave Blaney's okay, guys, and there's a few other drivers in there, and we'll wait out here and hopefully speak to them as they come out, guys.
And Max Pappas treated and released as well from the Infield Medical Center. You know, there's always this, it's like short tracks, road courses, there's always this, the sense of speed, the anticipation of that edgy element to the sport. You just, I don't know, people seem to relax about it or whatever, but these guys are flying at this very fast racetrack.
Oh, they are. With 8 laps to go, Alan, there's just no doubt about that. I mean, tension's building right now. They're trying to get all the positions they can. And I've got to tell you, folks, that's one of the hardest hits I've seen in a long time. That's like something we would see, Brad, at Daytona, Talladega. It was a huge hit for a lot of cars.
Yeah, they were all bunched up. They were really coming through the corner very hard, trying to maintain position as they come down this long straight, and that was a pretty catastrophic wreck.
I mentioned Max Pappas treated and released at the medical center. Jamie, you with him?
Well, we heard his radio. He said what a heartbreaker this was. Max, first of all, are you okay?
I'm fine. You know, I'm broken in my heart because, you know, the guys in Haas Racing were doing an awesome job. You know, the strategy was perfect. We were ready to attack for the last 9 laps and came out of the last corner. And I know that with 9 to go, you know, you get to get up on the wheel and push hard, but that's too much. You know, I don't know exactly what happened. I need to see the replay, but you know, pushing and shoving is okay, but that was crazy. I don't know, it was like crazy. You know, cars everywhere, and I had no way to go. And unfortunately, you know, I want to see the replay. I can't really say much, but definitely, you know, it's heartbreaking because we were bound to do a great race.
We're going to replay it right here. You see the replay. We'll get Max's reaction.
Wow. I guess that there was not really much place to go. And yeah, here we are. Too bad. You know, they kept pushing and shoving in the last 10 laps, you know, pushing on the back and stuff like that. And I mean, you know, wow. Junior got really short end of the stick, looked like. It is what it is. You know, unfortunately, I ended up my second Cup race in the wall. That's not what I wanted, but it was a blast. And I mean, I had Jeff Gordon right in front of me. You know, I was ready to attack, and you know, it was a blast anyway. And hopefully nobody got hurt, but it was definitely bad.
Well, you always have said this is a dream come true, getting to race with these guys. Like you said, second start. Are we going to see you back in a Cup car anytime soon, Max?
Absolutely. I'm going to continue my duty to test for Hendrick Motorsport in the road course. And, you know, I want to say thanks to all the race fans for supporting me. And thanks for my family and God to protect me. And I see you next round.
How can you not love this guy, Max Pappas? Checked and released, and all is okay, guys.
Jamie, just a couple of further updates there. You know, Max was talking about, I guess Junior got the bad end of it, but he didn't see from the replay he was watching Junior go into the smoke and come out the other side.
Yeah, no, David Gilliland got the bad end of that deal. Junior escaped pretty unscathed.
And you see Bobby Labonte's car being loaded up there. Bobby, word from the medical center is we saw him climb from his car and walk away. He is going to be transported to a local hospital for further evaluation. So we'll get what updates we can in a moment, and I'm getting further information at the time. We'll clarify that and come back. But Bobby Labonte going to be transported to a local hospital for further evaluation there. Maybe Pappas was confused with Sam Hornish and Junior, but either way, some nasty hits there, and we will continue to bring you what updates we can. For now, though, the field is stopped, the engines are quiet, and we're under the red flag, just 8 laps from the finish here at Watkins Glen.
Update all your motorsports needs with NASCAR Now on ESPN2 tonight, midnight Eastern Time. NASCAR Now Roundtable coming your way tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. A special edition of NASCAR Now live at Joe Gibbs Racing Shops Wednesday at 5 o'clock. NASCAR Nationwide Series Carfax 250 coming your way from the Irish Hills of Michigan on Saturday afternoon. And, of course, NASCAR Sprint Cup action in Michigan. That's where Dale Earnhardt Jr. got his only win thus far this year back in June at Michigan. Our coverage begins on Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. We are under a red flag here at Watkins Glen International Raceway. Heavy impact. 9 cars involved. Just 8 laps to go. And by the way, the drivers treated and released the 00 and 38 might have wished they weren't released because those 2 drivers, Michael McDowell and David Gillen, have been called to the NASCAR truck to discuss the little incident, I think initially over in the backstretch and then this one here, which triggered the 9-car crash.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it had to mar this race. We'd gone for so long without a caution, and it seemed like everything happened at one time. I think an interesting thing is going to be, though, Andy, these cars sitting back there under this red flag, tire pressures go down. What's going to happen?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The 18 car, at the beginning of the race, he didn't get going very good on cold tires. His tires are going to be cold when we start this race. I don't know if that's going to be an advantage for the other guys or not, but they may have adjusted that tire pressure on that last set of tires, and it might be better now. But I would worry about how much your car changes when these tires do cool down.
I wonder what the team is thinking about, what could happen with Kyle Busch. Why don't we check in with the crew chief, Steve Addington. I think Mike Massaro was down there.
And that's exactly where we are, Doc. What's this like, having the lead just 8 laps from the finish, then having to stop with a guy that's probably the best in the history of this racetrack right on your bumper?
Very nerve-wracking. I wish it had just went green right there. You know, we were getting away from him a little bit, but you don't ever know with Tony Stewart and Zippy and those guys. You don't know whether he's holding back to make a run there in the last 3 or 4 laps. So we'll just see what we got here. I think we've got one of the best right there in the seat in that 18 car, too.
As their teammate, I would imagine you know them as well as anybody. Do you think they're holding back?
He's not letting us get too far out there, that's for sure. So, I mean, we got a little bit of gap opened up there on that one run, but it's hard to say with Tony and them. He's so smooth at these places, and it's hard to tell what he's doing. So just go out there and run our race here at the end and see what happens. Car's been good all day long. Really proud of all these guys on this race team and everybody at Joe Gibbs Racing that's worked hard on our road course program, and it's paying off right now.
Well, Dave, another concern beside the 20 for this team. Well, I asked Steve Addington before this interview how he was on fuel. He said simply, very tight.
And Mike, of course, I wanted to know what maybe Steve Addington would want to know from Greg Zipadelli, and he says, ask him if he's holding back out there. What do you think? Has Tony got a little bit left?
No, I hope so, but I don't know. The 18 car is pretty strong there. We got a good car. We've had a good car all day. We just, I think we tightened it up too much there on that second stop and didn't get it turning like it needs to be right now. But you know, we need a good solid finish here. Good day for us. Team did a really good job all weekend. You know, we're getting rained out and a little bit of practice time. We kind of like showing up here on Friday and getting a little bit of race practice, try a few things. We didn't get to do that. So, you know, we didn't have a terrible starting spot, but we didn't have a great one either. So, you know, everybody did a good job. Joe Gibbs Racing. It's a good day for all of us here. We got 3 cars in the top 10, and that's what we need.
Somebody gets a little crazy here in the last laps, and we go to a little overtime. Are you okay on fuel?
Yeah, we're good for a green-white checkered. All these cautions put us way beyond what we needed. So I'm not sure where everybody else is. I hear a few people talking about this obviously will help them get to where they need to get. So who knows here?
All right, line them up. Let's go racing.
Speculation as to what might happen with these 2 teammates, talking about Kyle Busch and Tony Stewart here in the final 8 laps. Remember, earlier in the race, it was teammate helping teammate. Remember, Kyle Busch moved over and let Tony Stewart assume the lead because Tony had not led a lap. Tony got the 5 bonus points for leading the only lap he had led all day, and then Kyle goes back by. So a little gesture helping Tony Stewart, because Tony was trying to maintain himself in the chase. He has actually gained 2 spots up to 7th position, but still 4 races remaining in the chase for the Sprint Cup. Kyle Busch solidly in, but now the question becomes, how aggressive How aggressive can Tony Stewart afford to be? And you know he hasn't won a race this year. Will he be aggressive with a teammate who did something really nice for him early in the race?
I don't think he can be, Doc. I think he's sitting in a good spot in second spot. He wants to win. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he can go and make one of these do or die moves on his teammate just to try to get that win. On the other hand, Kyle Busch, he's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I know we're supposed to be up here to kind of argue the different scenarios and everything, but I have to agree with you there, Andy. I don't think that Tony's going to press the issue that much simply because he's looking at the big picture. He's here to win the race, but he's not going to make something or do something stupid that's going to affect himself and his teammate in that position.
So he'll use his head here and maybe be patient. What about the guy back there we know who's really aggressive and hungry? What about Juan Pablo Montoya? What are they thinking in their pits? Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, down here in the pit stall for Juan Pablo Montoya, I just wanted you to check out one of the sponsors for Big Red. He has a huge cape on, so he is obviously a huge Juan Pablo Montoya fan, but we're here with Brian and Patty right now. You have some very stout drivers in front of you. Do you guys have the car to win this race?
We definitely got the driver. Yeah. I mean, obviously the 18 won at Sonoma, so he's strong. Smokes won here a lot, and then you got Ambrose that won yesterday, so I would say we're in pretty good company. I think the car is good enough. I think the driver's good enough, but I don't know if we played the strategy correct there. We're the same as the 18 and the 20, but 21 got us a little bit on strategy.
Now, we've seen a lot of guys get off strategy today. How difficult has it been for you guys to stay with that 2 stops?
Well, I mean, with the gas mileage we had, we were really close on even making a 2-stop race, but we thought there was going to be cautions and went the full first stint there and didn't have any. It was really scary. We pushed the first one back as far as we could so we could have a couple laps there to play with, and we only had one. So we basically came when we had to, but we probably should have came under caution and took some tires and just did a splash of gas and seen if we had the pace. Put Juan up versus Kyle and see who's got the best car. But all in all, it's really good to run up front and run where you're supposed to run every week.
All right, well, he definitely has some fans down here in the 42 pit stall. Jamie?
Well, we're in the number 1 pit stall with interim crew chief Mike Gricci, and his driver, Martin Truex Jr., apparently caught wind that we were about to do an interview. You're his interim crew chief. He's giving you a hard time. How's this job going for you?
This job has really been pretty good. I mean, these guys have stepped up, done a great job. Without Bono and Gary, though, it's been a little difficult. It's hard on everybody, but it's amazing what a new contract and running well to do for a driver. He's been really, really good all day long, and this Bass Pro Shop is showing how well it can run.
All right, Mike, let's talk about the situation you guys are in. 5th right now. He's working to get in the chase. He said it's all for nothing. I mean, you guys got to go for broke, go for the win. What's your strategy here? Can you make it to the end?
Yeah, we're in actually good shape right now. Gas-wise, we're in fine shape, and tire-wise, we're in fine shape. He slipped over there, and he apologized for giving up a couple spots, but he's done a tremendous job, and we're not out of the points until you're actually mathematically out of the points. So he's still running for the chase and going for that.
All right, guys, he was 17th coming in. I believe he sits 16th right now. Let's see if he can hold it together, maybe bring home his first win of the season, Alan.
All right, Jamie, we were listening to Andy and DJ talk about the tires cooling down on the car and what might happen on the restart once they finish cleaning up here under this red flag. And Rusty was over here furiously scribbling some notes down, thinking about some other things there that might cool down too.
Yeah, it really was. I was actually thinking, what would I do under this circumstance? What's going through my mind? And going through my mind right now, I'm thinking, okay, as a driver with 8 laps to go, my brakes are cooling down. I'm going to have good brakes again. I have got to, where am I going to make the pass? Where am I good at? Am I good into the inner loop? Am I good into turn 1? And I'm mentally running through my mind where I'm going to strike. Because with 8 laps to go, Brad, they're going to have to be thinking that. Where am I going to get it at?
Do you remember what Kyle Busch said in the pre-race show about the race today?
He said, be aggressive and go get it.
Number 1's all it counts. Yeah. 2 through 43 doesn't matter.
Yeah, but the 3rd place car of Marcus Ambrose, Montoya, Tony, hey, they're thinking the same thing. That's all it counts. That's the reason they got to find out where to strike.
Well, I think Tony Stewart's thinking maybe points. He probably is thinking more about the chase.
He's thinking, I'm going to win this, baby. He's too close. He's in 2nd right now.
It's been a year since Tony's won.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to know what's going on inside that helmet right now, but I don't suspect we're going to find out until after the race. One thing for sure, they'll all have that pedal on the right as far to the floor as they can push it when we do go back racing after the cleanup. 1 year since Tony Stewart has won. Can you believe that? Man. It was here at Watkins Glen 12 months ago. Tony Stewart was leading the race early. He spun out by himself going off into turn 1. Regrouped, he fell back to like 19th, came back to the front. He's running 2nd to Jeff Gordon, and then things went Tony's way.
43 of NASCAR's finest take the green flag at Watkins. Watkins Glen. 5th DNF of the year for the 8 car in Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tempers flaring here on a restart, and 3 of the contenders are out of it.
Harvick's really mad at Montoya right now.
Harvick is not a guy you want to mess with. And Jeff Gordon has spun around with 2 laps to go, the leader. Tony Stewart, winner of the Nextel Cup at Watkins Glen. 8 laps to go in the Centurion boats at the Glen. We are under a red flag here, a 9-car crash coming out of turn 11 while they clean up. Let's check in once again down in the pits with Dave Burns.
And Mike Ford is here now with Denny Hamlin running in 6th, or sitting in 6th right now. And he's got that potential to make sort of that bonsai move to, go to 1st in 1 lap. Would he do that, or is he in a good spot right now?
No, that hasn't been our strong suit today. We've been bonsai'd more than we've bonsai'd. Our objective is to come out here with a good top 10 day and not make any mistakes. It's easy to take a top 10 day into a 35th place day, in the closing laps here. So where we're at in points, just trying to not do anything spectacular, just try and come out with a solid day.
Is this long delay a cure for brake fade that he's been fighting?
I think the cure for brake fade is to have a car that'll get through the corners and where you don't need brakes. So, knocking the temperature down by sitting here for a while definitely helped, but you still have enough laps where you're going to get some temperature in the brakes.
All right, thanks, Mike. Mike?
And thanks, Dave. With Bob Osborne now. And Bob, I know there was some concern about fuel mileage with Carl. With these caution flags coming now, is this enough to get you to the finish?
Yeah, we're plenty to the good at this point, at least we think we are. So we'll see how it goes. He's been doing a great job saving fuel under caution. So I think we're plenty to the good now, and we're just going to see how this last handful of laps turn out.
With you in somewhat fuel conservation mode, how aggressive can Carl afford to be as he tries to tackle these guys in front of him?
Well, we're pretty comfortable now. We think we're good to finish the race, so he's going to be full bore here for the last handful of laps.
Jamie?
And I'm with Chip Bolin, crew chief, of course, for Matt Kenseth. And a while ago, I heard you come over the radio and say, okay, we need to save for 10 laps, Matt. But you said something about a Jedi mind trick. What exactly does that mean, Chip?
Well, it won't work anymore because I tell him to save gas, he backs his corners up, and then we actually run faster. But now you told everybody, and he'll watch it on TiVo, and then I can't use it anymore.
So basically what you're telling me is you have to tell your driver to back off so he'll go faster?
Oh, yeah.
So Matt's like that?
Yeah, he wants to go as fast as he can all the time.
So far, so good. Are you guys going to be good if he runs all out till the end?
Yeah, we'll be good, no problem, to the end, as long as nobody runs into us and we stay on the racetrack.
All right, well, right now, so far, so good. Shannon, if he stays here, he will knock Clint Boyer out of the top 12. He will be 12th in points. Shannon?
Yeah, Jimmy Elledge agrees with you, Jamie. He says you back off and you go faster. Is that what you're telling your driver to do right now?
Well, right now he's not doing nothing. He's kind of parked over there on the sidelines. But, yeah, no, we're just trying to get, sitting around and wish it was over. But it'll be going here soon in 8 more laps and get this thing in the books and go on to Michigan.
Currently running 9th. I know I saw you before the race started with AJ, and you guys were a little nervous coming into today's race. You had never been here before. He had never driven here before. How would you assess how he has been doing on the track?
I wasn't nervous about that. He's done a fabulous job. I'm really impressed with his road racing abilities. I was, to call this race, you have to call it scared and call it like you're probably not going to make it on fuel and depend on yellows. And I think in my older age, I'm starting to worry about this stuff more. I used to not think about it, but no, we've had a good day, and we're done on fuel now and done pitting, so we're good to the end. So hopefully we'll finish this thing in top 10.
All right, and AJ is still unsure of next season, so this is a great run for this team.
Shannon, what a job Jimmy Elledge has done with AJ Allmendinger. This could be his career best finish. He is 9th right now. So since Jimmy Elledge has come over there, this young man could have 2 top 10 finishes in just 3 races. But I want to talk a little bit about Marcus Ambrose, a young man who's 3rd right now and started back in 43rd. Has he, in essence, already won? I mean, has Marcus Ambrose done what he wanted to do today, come from 43rd to 3rd, or should he now get even more aggressive and try to do something with those front 2 guys?
Well, I think you ought to go for it. I've been calling him the winner since the start of the race, and I want him to go for it. I think he's got a shot. He's got a car that can win it. But yeah, he has already won. He's run a great race. He's kept his car clean. He's passed a lot of race cars today, and they've had great strategy in the pit. So this team's really won already today, no matter what.
Yeah, they've done a great job. Congratulations to the Wood brothers. They needed something good like this to happen. Marcus Ambrose was just the medicine that they were looking for. He does a terrific job on these road courses. Their pit strategy was great. David Hyder's done a good job in the pits and preparing this race car for them. So it's a win for them. I don't know how aggressive he needs to get out there with this. I mean, I know he wants to win the race, but let's be careful and not make something bad out of what's been a really great weekend for him.
You've always been one to go to young drivers, or I should say new drivers that come into the Cup Series and say you need to come in and earn the veterans' respect. Now, does he earn more respect by staying back there and racing him clean and finishing third, or does he earn respect from Tony Stewart and Kyle Busch by rubbing them a little bit and passing them for the win?
Well, I think as long as he does it without wrecking them, you know, if he's going to go wreck them, then that's a whole different story. And I don't think that he's going to do that. He's not that type of driver or person, so I don't think that we're going to see that out of him. Is he above going after them and rubbing them if he gets that opportunity? If they open the door just a little bit, sure, he's going to stick his nose in there, and those guys are going to appreciate and understand that.
We also heard him say in their pre-race show that he didn't want to get in there and mix it up with these guys. The guys that were running for points, like Tony Stewart, he's got a lot to lose. If he hadn't knocked Tony Stewart out of this race, it would really hurt his chances to make the chase. Marcus knows that. I don't think he's going to do that. On the other hand, Kyle Busch, he's leading the points, and he's just trying to get some more bonus points. But I don't think Marcus Ambrose is going to do anything dumb here.
And I will say this: after Marcus Ambrose won the race here yesterday, the NASCAR Nationwide Series race, he was in victory lane, and the driver who finished second was Kyle Busch. Kyle got out of his car in the garage area, walked all the way down to victory lane, and personally shook hands with everybody on that team, including Marcus Ambrose, and gave him congratulations on that win.
We see that time down there on the screen. That's how long we've been under red flag. That's a lot of time that you can get these cars to cool down. The tires have had a lot of time to cool down. Man, we had a big mess to clean up here.
Here's what happened. There was contact between the 00 and the 38. Now watch Gilliland's car come right across right in front of the 43 of Bobby Labonte. He gets hit from behind and comes across. The 77 of Hornish just slams the barrels broadside. Thankfully, they were there. In all, 9 different cars involved.
And once this started, guys started hitting and the track gets blocked, there's just nothing you can do. You hope that you're going to be fortunate enough to get through there. The good thing about all of this and about this new car, it was built a lot for safety, and all of these guys are walking away from this and are going to be okay. But just a vicious wreck, and just shows you, as the guys were talking about earlier, these guys are running really fast. This is a fast road course, and one of the fastest parts is they come out of that last corner down the front straightaway.
Look at that. You saw that lick that 77 car took on those barrels, and look how well it held up. It's held up pretty well. He's actually pushing part of the barrel down pit road. For more on safety, let's go down to the ESPN Tech Center and talk to Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Andy. With this new car, the COT car, they implemented this foam in the doors, and what that's for, folks, is to absorb the impact. It looked like it did its job right here, because the driver, when they bounce off that impact so hard, they have to absorb all the energy. Now with this foam in the side of the car, it absorbs most of the energy.
Tim, and that's certainly a lot of what NASCAR has done to be able to get these cars safe. We did tell you earlier, and we'll reiterate the fact that all the drivers have been checked out, with the exception of Bobby Labonte. He's being transported to a local hospital for further evaluation. Bobby got out of the car, and of course those belts very, very tight around Bobby or on the driver to hold him in position because of that safety parameter they have for the drivers, and they wanted to check out Bobby a little more, so they've taken him to an area hospital. Kyle Busch, he scared the M&Ms off the car. That's how scary it's been out there. Can he hold on for 8 more laps? We'll find out in a moment.
The scene at Watkins Glen International, the 11-turn road course in upstate New York, where the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is racing on this beautiful afternoon. The gloom and doom weather forecasts that were being offered up this morning have not panned out. It's been a wonderful afternoon for most of the race, and then it got kind of ugly near the end. Kyle Busch started on pole, rained out qualifying, field lined up according to points. Dale Jr. took the lead on lap number 2. He started second. Jr. has been out front for quite a bit of this event, 33 of the 82 laps so far. Turn 1's been a trouble spot.
Oh, you see Juan Pablo Montoya sails it in there, starts wheel hopping. The car slides off, it doesn't spin, but not so lucky for Patrick Carpante and P.J. Jones. They get together and spin.
Jimmy Johnson had a little tire trouble.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson was really fast today. Runs off the track here, and then we believe this is where he came into some tire trouble. Shortly afterward, had to come down, change those left side tires.
Cut left rear dropped Jimmy to 31st in line. Kyle Busch has done most of the leading today, except for this little part here where he gave up the lead to Tony Stewart for a lap, trying to help Tony gain those 5 bonus points and help secure his place in the chase. This race relatively caution-free. Only one caution through the first 64 laps. Then here was the second one.
Oh, yeah, Travis Bopple gets off the racetrack and brings all this rocks onto the track. NASCAR's got to throw the caution flag because of that, and that lets Dale Jr. get hung out on the racetrack, and he's got to pit under caution now. Goes all the way to the back of the pack, ruining his chances.
Yeah, his team just didn't play the strategy right so far today. Ryan Newman running third.
Ryan Newman comes down, just completely misses the corner, slides back onto the racetrack, backs out there, driver's side. The entire field's coming by. Give the whole field a kudos for being head up. Great job by their spotters, because that's a very precarious situation. Turned out great, though, for everyone.
That led to this just after a restart.
Wait, Michael McDowell's trying to pass on the inside, gets ahead of the 38 car, David Gilliland. And look at this wreck, and take a look at Sam Harris. Bam, in the air. Boy, those barrels really helped save him on that one.
That was quite a lick. You see Bobby Labonte gets a tough shot there, hits very hard. David Gilliland gets whacked by Joe Nemechek. Reed Sorensen comes flying in there. Poor Max Pappas gets his race car tore up. It was bedlam down there.
9 cars involved in the accident that has had us under the red flag now for nearly 40 minutes. You see the cars stopped out on the backside of the course, all shut down, drivers strapped in, hot, sweaty, ready to go finish this thing, and got to wait while they clean up over in the exit of turn number 11. A lot of the cleanup has been because of those barrels protecting the end of pit wall, but I don't think anybody would argue it's worth waiting to clean that up.
Oh, no, that really did a great job. There is no doubt about that. I mean, just look at Sam Hornish. He slammed that thing, driver's side first, hit those barrels, and all that impact-resistant foam that our Tim Brewer was showing you really held up good. And this car is still on the racetrack, still in competition, and he's still 34th.
That's incredible.
He's still 34th in the points, holding on.
Yeah, a couple things, kind of subplots going on here in the race today. The top 35 in owner points, very important because those 35. That's good news.
Pit road is closed. Pit road is closed.
Very good news as word goes out there for the cars to fire up. The top 35 in owner points are guaranteed a spot in next week's race. Well, there are only 44 points from 35th place Sam Hornish up to 33rd place Michael Waltrip, and Hornish is only 10 points to the good on Michael McDowell right now. So that could change in these last laps of this race. Check out our owner points here as they stand right now, with Hornish being on the bubble, though he's actually tied with A.J. Allmendinger, who's up 3 spots in today's race. Allmendinger running 9th right now on the racetrack.
8 very important laps for Sam Hornish as well as Allmendinger. We're going to see how this flushes out. This is going to be very, very interesting.
And then Doc was telling you earlier about the top 12 and the race to the chase right now and how close those standings are. So that's just some of the subplots going on here as we get these final 8 laps ready to go in Watkins Glen. So before the wreck, all 43 cars still running, 38 of them on the lead lap. Right now we've got 33 cars on the lead lap, and we're going to be missing a few of those involved in that wreck when we go back under green.
Back at Watkins Glen International, the cars are rolling once again. Aerial coverage from high above this beautiful facility, brought to you by our good friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. We have had a red flag here due to a grinding crash involving 9 cars in turn 11. Again, the cars involved: Bobby Labonte, Dave Blaney, Hornish, Gilliland, Pappas, Sorensen, Nemechek, Ryan Newman, Michael McDowell, and the 78 car of Joe Nemechek. We just mentioned he was involved. So Sam Hornish on pit road getting some work done on the 77 car. Look at that car. It's broadsided those barrels and still able to roll and run on the racetrack.
Yeah, it's very important they get this car back out there. As we were just talking about the top 35 in the points, he's right there right now, tied for that 34th spot. And this is very important they can get back out there and at least make some laps and stay on the lead lap if possible.
Great day for Kevin Harvick so far, too. He's in 6th spot. This is a good recovery for this team. They needed a good finish.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth sitting back there in 11th. I think this is a huge day for them. I know yesterday they weren't that good in practice, but if he can end up somewhere around there, he's got himself in the top 12 right now.
5 of the top 7 drivers have not won a race in 2008. The only 2 in the top 7 are Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin that have won. So a lot of hungry guys out there. Tony Stewart, we mentioned, hasn't won since this race a year ago. Marcus Ambrose, only his 3rd ever start, so he's right behind Tony. How aggressive is he going to be? There's Marcus from 43rd starting spot. What a great job for the Australian driver. Juan Pablo Montoya. He won at Infineon in his 17th career start a year ago. You know how aggressive he is. You know what happened in Mexico City last year when he bumped his own teammate to get to victory lane. And here are the guys that are doing a heck of a job just trying to piece together Joe Nemechek's Chevy.
They're trying to make a car out of this thing. They got a lot of damage to try to fix.
We had a huge wreck there, but we talked to all these scenarios. Who's in the top 12? Who's in the top 35? Who's outside? We still have 6 hard laps of racing to go here. A lot of things can change, and when they throw the green flag, there's a lot going to happen as they get to turn 1, Indy.
Yeah, one thing they don't need are these wrecked cars out there running with pieces flying off of them. So NASCAR will be watching very carefully and making sure these guys have these cars prepared well enough to be back on the racetrack.
See these guys scrubbing their tires, trying to get some heat back in them. They've been there for over 40 minutes that they've been sitting there, and they want to get the tires not only cleaned off, but get some heat back in them because they know as they get down to turn 1, that thing needs to stick.
Rusty Wallace mentioned that your brakes are now really cool. You're going to have good brakes. Can you have too good of brakes if you're not careful going into 1?
Not really. I think they've had a lap to warm them up, so they're going to be okay. They should be right where they want them.
Here, this is getting after it right here. I think he's just taking that little frustration right there on the hood of that car.
Trying to get Nemechek back on the racetrack. Pace car pulling away. It'll be 6 to go as they come down this time. Who will it be? Will Kyle Busch get win number 8? Will his teammate Tony Stewart get his first win?
It just called it off. You saw the pace truck pull back on the racetrack.
We had a splitter, we are told, a piece of debris off the front of one of the cars.
That's what I'm worried about. These cars, a lot of cars involved in this wreck.
Juan Pablo, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Yes, Dale. How are you?
Hey, Juan, you've had a great day, but assess your chances for winning this thing for us in these last 5 laps.
It's going to be pretty hard. You know, we'll give it our best. We'll see where we end up. You know, I think we've got a fast enough car to win. It really hurt us at the beginning of the race, starting so far back. You know, as I said before, you know, we're going to have to use so much of the brakes and stuff just to get here that it's been pretty hard on the car. But I think we've got a good enough car. You know, I think we're way faster than the 21. It's just been close to Laura and me a lot. And I think we'll be okay. I think we're going to pass very similar pace to the 20 and 18.
All right, Juan, we'll let you get ready to get started. Thanks.
Juan very calm, and but you know what? If you known him, if you watched him in open wheel racing in IndyCar, you watched him in Formula One, you know how aggressive he is. He won the Grand Prix of Monaco, the crown jewel in Formula One. He's won the Indianapolis 500. He got his first NASCAR win in Mexico City. Got a little bump of his teammate there with a few laps to go, and he won at Infineon in Cup racing a year ago. Some of the international winners. Juan Pablo Montoya, you see his success from Bogota, Colombia. Earl Ross won the Canadian, won at NASCAR Sprint Cup. Mario Andretti out of Italy. In fact, Max Pappas hoping to be able to become the 2nd Italian to win at NASCAR.
How about Larry Pollard right there? He won a Nationwide Series race. He's from Canada.
Marcus Ambrose won here yesterday, the Australian. Of course, Ron Fellows has 5 wins at this racetrack in Nationwide and Cup Series racing. Let's listen in on the 20 team, the Tony Stewart radio.
Todd, can you ask the NASCAR officials to watch both the 21 and the 42 on hanging back here? That's 10-4. We'll pass it right through them.
Yeah, what Tony's worried about is these guys getting a run on him on this restart.
And he's talking about those guys laying back and get that momentum going down the front straightaway, which would allow them to dive to the inside of him. He's wanting to be able to protect that and not let them. And NASCAR tells you need to stay on the rear bumper of that car in front of you.
Remember last year's restart here, how exciting it got in the final laps? Here was the restart. There is Montoya in front of Truex. Tap got there. They get into Harvick entering turn 1. And then it was all about mano-mano, getting out and getting face-to-face or helmet-to-helmet with Harvick and Juan Pablo. And guess who's right behind Juan Pablo again today? How does this thing always work out in history? You know, you look in the mirror, and there's the one car, I should say, Martin Truex Jr. right behind Juan Pablo Montoya. You know, he's going to be aggressive.
And Kevin Harvick right behind him. So we have the three guys that really triggered that whole incident down in turn 1.
Remember, Truex
still have 6 more laps.
Yeah, Truex re-signed his contract, so he knows where he's going next year, so he's okay with DEI, so he can get aggressive.
I think we're going to see all of them get pretty aggressive right here. Kyle Busch has been really good on these restarts, making sure that he got his tires clean, got up through the gears, and didn't let anybody make a move on him down into turn 1. We'll see if that can happen again here with 5 laps to go if they get to the line.
Watch it, 21 and the 42. Will they lag back and try to get a run on Stewart in turn 1? They come down. It'll be 5 to go. Green flag for Kyle Busch, who takes off and pulls Tony Stewart by 8 car lengths. Here comes Marcus Ambrose to the inside and Truex. No contact in 1. Truex to the inside of Montoya, trying to take the spot away, and he will have it exiting turn 1.
It's like Montoya was trying to make a move on Marcus Ambrose on the outside, and that just opened the door for Truex.
Yeah, Ambrose didn't get started off really good. He seems to have a hard time right there getting started initially, and that's opened up the outside for those guys, but that cost Juan Pablo right there. Kyle Busch got a great restart. Got a couple of car lengths on Tony, and that really helped him. That's really nice when you can get up there and get through the inner loop on this first turn.
A.J. Allmendinger picked up a couple of spots on that restart, able to make a pass.
It's like Montoya's already back by Truex.
4th position. We'll see if Truex can get after him again here. There's Harvick looking back at Truex, and right behind him is Kevin Harvick sneaking. They'll make the hard right-hander turn 11.
Truex done a really good job today. We haven't talked a lot about him. We have mentioned him being up there, but he's done just a terrific job, and it looks like he's got a really fast car, trying to get a run back on Juan Pablo down into turn 1.
Harvick now looking to the inside. Truex covers a spot. Harvick can't afford to make a mistake either, because Denny Hamlin and A.J. Allmendinger are right behind him.
There's a fine line getting into 1, or whether you can arc the car in and make a fast lap, or you pull over to the right-hand side of the road just to protect so nobody gets underneath you.
Yeah, I think it's more about protecting right at this moment. You know, if you can keep that guy back there, then you knocked his momentum down. We see Kyle Busch going through here, going through the inner loop. The rest of the guys coming through. Everybody's pretty much single file at this point in time. This is not really one of the passing spots right there as they come out of the inner loop and around that turn. But as they get here to this left-hander, important to carry a lot of momentum as you get to the last corner. Again, a lot of guys just single file right here running. Not much passing happening at this point in time. Just shows how equal a lot of these cars are. See Matt Kenseth get a little bit sideways there, but corrects that.
Jimmy Johnson trying to get back past Allmendinger, the car that Allmendinger passed him, entering 1 on the restart to take the spot away. There goes Johnson. See if he can get by Allmendinger. That's for 8th position. And
Allmendinger shuts the door. I think Jimmy saw that coming.
Yeah, he didn't force it. He could have forced it a little bit there, but there wasn't really any reason for him to do that as they come up through the S's here.
AJ says, I'm driving for my best career finish and maybe for my job. I need to hang on to this spot. He's doing a heck of a job.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Yeah, since Jimmy Elledge came over there, they've just really seemed to perform really well. And, you know, we talked about Kyle Busch leading this race today as we see what's happened with AJ as he's progressed up through the field. Just a really solid job. You know, they'd had good pit work. And we see Kyle Busch, I was going to mention, you know, we've kind of taken it for granted just how good he is, but his road course performance this year has just been phenomenal at both of these tracks. He's led a lot of laps and been out front, and it's just been incredible what he's been able to do.
He led 78 of 112 laps at Infineon, and folks, Kyle Busch started 30th at Infineon. He also won the 4th and now final NASCAR Nationwide Series race at Mexico City.
He finished 2nd yesterday here. I mean, he came with just a little bit of win in that race.
In a car he had never driven before, by the way.
Incredible what he's done.
He stretched out to almost a 2.5-second lead over Tony Stewart here right now. So we see Jimmy Johnson make the pass this time down into turn 1. Carl Edwards trying to follow him through there. He will have the position, but AJ's going to be able to hold him off.
Juan Pablo Montoya, last lap by, turned the best lap among the leaders, a 73.3, a 10th quicker than Kyle Busch or Stewart, but can he get there?
Yeah, but the top 6 are all in the 73-second bracket. And
Tony Stewart's under attack right here.
Yeah.
Marcus Ambrose knows he's got 2 laps to get a shot. Tony Stewart. Remember, Marcus said, I don't want to impact the drivers in the chase, but boy, would he love to be able to get 1 shot at the 18 car.
And those top 6 were all in the 73-second bracket, but Tony was about the slowest of those, so he's struggling a little bit as they go back. You can see him right here.
Getting in the corner. Looks like his car is really loose getting in the corner.
It'll be
really
white flag for Kyle Busch this time by.
Now will Ambrose make a move on Tony going into 1?
Here it is. White flag.
I don't think he's close enough to make the move this time, but the thing that Marcus doesn't want to happen is for Tony to slow him down enough that Juan Pablo can get to his back bumper.
Looking on the inside. Now, Ambrose is really good in the S's, and coming out of the S's is where Tony Stewart in the 20 car struggled a moment ago. Although Tony now pulls him a little bit this time by. Trouble, Jeff Gordon involved. There's Sam Hornish.
Looks like Gordon's been around backwards. That's why that roof flap is up.
Just drove it in there a little too hard. He couldn't hold it there.
Gordon back in 25th position. Rudeman trying to get by him. Here is the final lap for Kyle Busch, trying to come down to get his 8th win in 2008. Ambrose now has Montoya right on his rear bumper for 3rd spot. Will Montoya make a move in 10? Ambrose covers a spot. 1 more turn for the battle for 3rd. Kyle Busch will come down out of turn 11 and take the checkered flag. Tony Stewart is 2nd. And 3rd spot, what a performance by Marcus Ambrose from 43rd spot. Juan Pablo Montoya will finish 4th, Truex 5th, and Kevin Harvick will come home in 6th position. Jimmy Johnson back up to 7th spot.
Winning. Think about this for a week, boys.
That's a road racer right there, boys.
Kyle Busch sweeps both NASCAR Sprint Cup events on road courses in 2008 in dominant fashion. He led 4 times for 52 laps today.
Yeah, road racer, short track racer, restrictor plate racer. He's just the man.
What a talent.
Adds 10 more points to his lead that he's obviously going to have probably as we get to the chase point. Very, very impressive by this race team and that young man.
Let's go down and visit with the crew chief for Kyle Busch, Steve Addington. Hey.
Yeah, Steve, and restarts taught him everything he knows. That seemed to be the key right there.
Oh, man. That kid's awesome. Thank you, Zippy. Thank you. This is big for JGR, all these cars running up front like this. To bounce back. I can't believe we don't win a race in 3 or 4 weeks and we're in a bad slump, you know. I mean, it's just... I mean, all 3 of these teams working great together now. It's unbelievable. It's awesome, man. This is awesome. This is great for M&M's, Toyota. Great for this race team right here. I mean, they stick together through thick and thin. Anything I ask of them, they do it. They changed a bunch of stuff on this thing this morning and didn't gripe a bit. So yeah, it's all these guys right here.
And what about how he pulled out on that restart, Steve? Just lengthened him right there.
You never know. You know, we sat over there on 26-lap tires, and it cooled down like that. You never know what's going to happen. And just told him to leave his brake fans off, get some heat in his brakes, and let him do it. That kid right there is awesome, man. He's the best out there.
He did it. Congratulations to Steve for directing this thing, Doc. They did a good job on strategy, and they did a great job on speed.
Did an awesome job all the way around. Kyle Busch, his 16th win of the year, 8th in Cup, 6 wins in NASCAR Nationwide Series, a couple in the trucks, but his first ever win at Watkins Glen. And guys, 8 wins on the season in this series, as competitive as the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is.
Just no telling what he's going to be able to accomplish by the end of the season. He's just an incredible talent.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to imagine they could do any better, but you know, every time we say that, they bring out something else. We see celebrating on the front stretch here. You know, they've won 8 times. He's come over to a race team that he wasn't familiar with.
Watch this bow. There's the bow.
He had to use both hands to count up all the wins. He was showing the fans.
Got to get that checkered flag. Well, the fans, do they appreciate this young man's talent or what?
I think, yeah, they're warming up to this guy, you know. I think that he kind of ruffled their feathers at the first, but they now appreciate the talent that they're seeing here. Jamie, you're with our second place finisher.
He just crawled out of the car. Third, second place finish this year. Tony, how would you assess this day at the Glen?
I can't even hear what you're saying right now.
How would you assess this day at the Glen?
It was pretty sane for us. I mean, a lot of guys had some problems behind us, but you know, we had a good car all day. Just we had a little bit. We didn't have enough wedge in it for the right-hand corners and a little too much for the left-hand corners, but really proud of Zippy and all of our guys, and proud of Kyle. Kyle ran an awesome race today, didn't make mistakes, you know, and that's what you got to do here. I mean, I put all the pressure on him I could, so really, really proud of the whole Joe Gibbs organization. I mean, to have Denny run as good as he did, and you know, Kyle and I mean, it's a pretty strong day for the organization.
Strong day for Joe Gibbs. Tony Stewart comes home second, guys.
Second week in a row, Tony Stewart finishes a runner-up. Take a look at the point standings. 4 races remaining in the race to the chase. Kyle Busch extends the lead. Carl Edwards gains a spot. Jimmy Johnson up 1. Dale Earnhardt Jr. losing 2 positions by virtue of his finish here today back in 22nd. You see Tony Stewart gains 2 more positions up the 7th spot. Greg Biffle back a couple. Matt Kenseth puts himself in chase contention. He was 13th coming in. He moves up to 12th today with that 12th place finish. Jamie.
His third Cup start, and Marcos Ambrose brings it home third. Marcos, take us through your day.
Just a long day. We used that car up. Had no clutch left, no brakes left, and you know, I was worn out. Just coming through the field like that's really hard work. We overused the car early in the race just to try and get track position, but just great fun racing those guys at the front. They really looked after me, and I got to thank them, you know, because it'd be easy to just send me off into the weeds with that rookie stripe on the back. But it's been a lot of fun, and it's just been a real blast. The Wood brothers have had a great car for me both times at the road courses, and I just got to thank them and Little Debbie and the McKee family for giving me the chance to go Cup racing.
Guys, he came from 43rd position. Who says you can't pass on a road course, right?
Kangaroo meets his nickname, and he hopped right by him early on and got all the way up to 3rd spot. Your final thoughts on what we saw, particularly that Marcos Ambrose performance?
Just a great performance. The man is a road racer extraordinaire. He did a fantastic job. I wouldn't have thought that you could come from 43rd to 3rd, but he proved me wrong. Showed that you can do it with a good car and a lot of talent.
And this young man right here, what a great day. What a great weekend for Marcos Ambrose. He won yesterday, finished 3rd today. A lot to be happy about.
Saw Eddie Wood coming to congratulate him. And then how about the 23-year-old phenom from Las Vegas, 8th NASCAR Cup win of the season, first at Watkins Glen.
And Kyle Busch in victory lane for the 8th time already in 2008, getting a kiss from his girlfriend. The celebration is on here, and that one was hard earned. You had one of the best road course racers in this series right on your rear bumper for that final restart. What were your thoughts with Tony right there?
I knew he was going to be hard to beat. I mean, racing against the same stuff with Tony Stewart and Joe Gibbs Racing and Toyota, and you know, I knew it was going to be hard to beat Tony, but you know, he's such a great friend and such a great teammate. I'm really going to hate to see him leave at the end of the year. I mean, he's just been so fun to work with this year, and I got to thank him, everybody at JGR, all of M&M's, Pedigree, Combos. I got to thank the fans. You know, they're the ones that make us race. So everybody out there, appreciate your support.
Take us through that restart. What did you have to do to protect that spot and hold him off?
Well, I knew getting a good start was going to be good. And once I got that, then it changed all my worries of how to run turn 1. So then I just had to concentrate on getting off of turn 1 and then getting up through the S's and everything. And, you know, on restarts, these tires are pretty slick. We found that out on Infineon. So just planning for that and trying to get a good solid run up off the corner, and you know, being able to get up through the S is good. So, you know, that helped out, and then the more we ran, the better our car got with grip. So, you know, that was definitely something that we knew we could capitalize on too. So thank NOS Energy Drink, Electric Sunglasses, everybody else that makes it possible for us to get here too, and Joe Gibbs Racing Oil, everybody at TRD.
Well, Alan, with the victory, Kyle Busch now has 80 bonus points. Nobody can start the chase with more.
Kyle has been the road king this year, one at Sonoma, one at Watkins Glen, and now we look ahead to Michigan.
Michigan, I'll tell you what, Michigan's where Jimmy Johnson said he got back on track. Johnson won Indy. He's 7th today, really rallied. He's going to be good, but this kid just won this race. He's going to be strong too, though.
I said it before the day, he needed another win before we got to the chase. Rest of the field, you better take note. Kyle Busch is going to work towards that championship.
Our coverage from Michigan next Saturday, the NASCAR Nationwide Series, Carfax 250, 3 Eastern time on ESPN2. Then 1 week from today, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on the big, fast 2-mile oval, ESPN, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. That is next weekend. SportsCenter's next. More post-race coverage on SportsCenter. And don't forget the late NASCAR Now tonight at 10 Eastern on ESPN2. All the news of the day next on SportsCenter. So Kyle Busch continues to be the man in the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season with his 9th. I just gave him one more, didn't I?
There you go.
His
Might as
8th
well.
win of the season. He'll go for 9 next week on the Irish Hills 2-mile oval in Michigan. Crazy race today. Wild strategies played out. A nasty wreck near the end of the race. In the end, though, the Road King continues rocking on. Kyle Busch is your winner. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.